Beating your children, that's my job, is so crazy. Oh, gee, I hope we get to play VR chat or Dead by Daylight, right, Ayu? Oh my god. We might actually pop in VR chat. I don't know. We're gonna see what we're feeling today. But right now, we're gonna be doing a story. So are you guys ready? You know you're gonna have to DM what you bought in the relationship we share the new fits. Exactly. Don't worry, I'm gonna show you what I bought. I think I'm getting recognized by my own McDonald's restaurant in town. Oh my god. Bro went to McDonald's so much they're recognizing him when he's walking around in normal places. Like, ain't that crazy? How do they recognize you? How do they recognize you when you're not there? Oh my god. Hold on, let me see. I thought I did this already, but they bamboozled me. They told me it was one price and now they're telling me it's another price. I'm so confused. I'm so confused. You know what? That's okay. That's okay. Oh wow, they're saying... Hold on. If my math is mathing and my math is correct. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. These shoes are so cute. Like, I'm getting them. 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 I'm buying them right now. You guys are here first. You guys are here first. You guys are here first and foremost as I purchased the order. All right. The order has been made. Did you order Labubu's? Oh, hell no, I'm not ordering Labubu's. Oh, no, okay, sorry. You guys have my undivided attention. I just needed to do that. Okay, thank you. Hey. What the heck? What the heck? Don't you love it when you make a purchase and then they tell you you can make money back if you open up an account on a different website? What type of sponsorship? All right, you guys have my undivided attention. Check my message about the McDonald's thing. It's a full story. I just got 2 back-to-back receipts that said, and I quote, "One, not this time because I don't order sauce for my chicken." Ain't no way. Like, what the hell is my own McDonald's doing? That's crazy. Your McDonald's, they must love you over there if they're able to make jokes with you like that. All right, gamers, are you ready? Also, thank you for the lurk. I don't know who lurked. Oh, Arfin lurked. Let's get ready to play Lost Records. I'm super excited. I'm super excited, okay? I was looking for like a story game that we could play and I was like, what is like, you know, what is in the world today? What is in the world today? And then the next day this came up on my feed. I was like, you know what? I have to play it. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I just have to play it. It was the game made for me. It was literally made for me. Okay. I gotta make sure my screen is good. And then what is that? Okay. So we're minimizing that. Minnie, you can lower down your video. Hey, well, whatever you're doing, lower down. Hey, let's stop the music.
In for a super bonk.
A super bonk? No! No! Please don't super bonk me. Please. Okay, what's happening? The screen is like completely black. Is this like on purpose? I wish I was joking. No, look, the screen is like entirely black. Look, this is you guys. The screen is just black. Hold on, where's my Steam? Alright, look, I'm gonna stop it. Confirm. Alright, stopping. You guys are gonna see my monitor, and then while it's stopping, I'm gonna just restart the game. Alright, starting, launching. Apparently, I have 1 minute of playtime, but I have not opened the game yet. The game, the game, the game has technically not been open. Okay. All right, we're gonna make ourselves a little smaller. Oh, okay, there we go. There we go. Much better. Ooh, I love the color scheme. Oh, All right. Excuse me. All right, let's see. Okay, so we're in the corner as far as we can get. Or should I sit? Should I sit today? You know, I think I'm gonna sit. You know, I think we're gonna sit today. Don't worry, I'm fixing it. As much as I would love the tea to be out, we just can't. We just can't today. If we're sitting, you know, we can't have tea out. Or maybe we should have the tea out. What do you think? Is this a horror game? It is a scary somewhat game. I don't know. I don't know. I literally know nothing about it. I just know that like stuff is happening. You know what? If it helps you guys, how about we watch here, we're gonna go to the store page. Here. Here. We're gonna watch this. To see how scary it is. Okay.
I have a wish.
I have a wish. What's your wish? What's your wish?
Abyss.
Abyss. I don't know what's happening.
I bring a sacrifice.
Whoa! Who's a sacrifice? Who are we sacrificing?
I seek your guidance.
Oh my god, it's a cult. Oh my god, are we a cult? Holy, I didn't know I was signing up for a cult. I'm not gonna lie. All right, let's do it. It's time to remember is what it says behind me right now. I think there's another one here. There's this one.
Did you girls ever see anything weird around these parts back in the day?
Not the jump scare by ad.
27
Holy.
years was a long time ago. I've been trying to remember. Something just out of reach.
Oh dear.
My mom found a package on her doorstep.
Our bloomin' rage.
What?
There's some things that I might not be ready to talk about. Ever. Welcome to the premiere of The Swan Show. I'll show you my natural habitat.
Oh my god, the graphics are so good.
Suburbia.
The best stories are like the ones that are set in a different time. Like in the past, you know?
movie?
I'm making a documentary.
Wow.
Are you rolling?
Oh my god.
Whoa! Nice camera.
Who's that?
Leave her alone, loser.
Ooh! Yeah, leave her alone, loser.
Place is awesome.
Oh shit. I've never had friends like you.
Never had
That's
any
so
friends
cute.
like
Oh my
you.
god, this is gonna be a choice type of story. You have to make choices. I love that. I love that. I love that. Uncover what's been forgotten. Uncover what's been forgotten. Whoa, what is she doing in that dark? There's like a hole. Okay, there's things that I'm taking note of. There's like a hole in the ground, like a big fiery pit or something. Or like, yeah, like what is that? Oh my god. Oh my god. All right, I'm taking note. I'm taking note. I'm taking note. Okay. All right. So let's get into it. Let us mute Steam. I'm getting into it. Okay. So we're doing English. Hold on. What does it look like? Oh, I think medium is fine. Voice language, English. It can also be. It could also be in French. Medium. We're gonna do medium. Subtitles, yes. Subtitle size, medium. We saw what it looked like when it was large, and I think this is good. I think I'm very happy. Oh wait, what are other languages? Espanol, Latin America. They got a lot of it. They got Italian? Okay. Imagine I accidentally boot this up in Italian. We're fucked. Okay, contrast. Adjust the contrast between lights and dark tones. Be sure not to lose detail by paying attention to the darker shadows and... Wait, what? Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna keep it at 2.2 because that's what it was recommended at, and I can see perfectly fine. You guys can see too, right? Yeah. You guys can see HDR. What is HDR? Oh my goodness. You know, we're just gonna continue. We're gonna act like we know what we're doing. Okay. This game, content and trigger warnings. This game contains intense flashing lights that may trigger seizures in individuals with photosensitivity. So guys, if you got photosensitivity, you can look away. Or maybe I'll be able to tell you when to look away. Don't nod. Entertainment does not condone the underage use of these substances. Oh, okay, I see. This game depicts underage characters using drugs, tobacco, and alcohol. Press F to toggle trigger warnings. Oh, yes. The game. Oh, okay. This game contains explicit language, casual homophobia, weight, body image issues, sexual content, illness, and discussion of blood. Oh, of illness, blood, domestic violence, flashing lights, and sudden sounds. Okay. Got it. F to toggle trigger warnings. Okay. Privacy policy. You got it. Agree and continue. Don't nod, Montreal. Ooh. Thank you so much for giving 3 months to Yuri. I appreciate you, Blaze. Yuri! No ads for you. Unreal Engine. Warning, the unauthorized reproduction or distribution of a copyrighted work is illegal. Criminal copyright infringement, blah, 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 blah. Autosave. This game uses autosave feature. Do not close a game while the autosave icon is displayed. Okay. Look at all the feet. Lost records, bloom and rage. Okay. We are entering a new story. Oh my god, I'm so excited. What do you guys think is gonna happen? Like, so from that trailer, like, I've got my eyes set on, so we're shooting a documentary, but we forget what's in the documentary and everything that's going on in this town.
Swan, are you listening?
Just like kind of blurs, you know?
So we're at book club, and that Carol, she had the nerve to say my idea was shallow.
Shallow? That bitch! Oh man, I always hate Carol.
Can you believe that? I just prefer a happy ending, you know?
You know, that's fair.
She always has to make everything about her.
Swan, mom.
At my expense?
Swan is Autumn Lockhart. Do you remember we need to talk about... It's about Bloom and Rage. I know it's sudden, but it's important.
Swan?
Autumn. I don't know what to say. Are you sure? Also, the main character is Swan. Okay, this is Swan.
Sorry, what was that?
Oh my god, we're gonna drive a car?
What do you think, dear? About Carol?
I
just thought the book would have been better if they gotten married at the end.
Oh, is it about a book?
Is that really shallow?
Oh, she's talking about a
Sick of
book.
all the negativity.
Thank you for the check-in. Hi, Mumi. Can I get a shout out from Mumi, please? Not every story needs a happy ending. Carol didn't need to push you on the spot.
Swan, are you spacing out again?
Oh, this sensitivity is
Tell
high.
me what you think.
Well, she's kind of right. Not every story needs a happy ending.
Oh.
Sometimes it's more complicated.
Okay, my
Seriously,
door is
Swan?
unlocked.
You're taking her side.
Well,
Did I tell you how she was
what?
bragging
Taking her
about
side?
her
Wait,
daughter's
what
wedding?
sides?
I guess I can't
I'm
blame
just
her
being
for
more
being
realistic.
excited.
You know what I'm saying?
But she's always had a
We're
big
blue
ego.
spruce. Take roots
Honestly, some people never change. Especially not Carol.
Swan Holloway. Okay, location Green Bay. Car. Oh, this is a rental. We are currently in a rental. Okay.
Hello?
Sorry, Mom. Hold on.
You paying attention?
I am. Why don't you try making new friends? Can we skip this Carol saga? I think we should skip the Carol saga. How about me? How about you make new friends?
I know, Mom. Why don't you try making some new friends? You always complain about this group.
We might not always get along, but we're still my oldest friends. I know it might seem odd to you. You've always been more of a introvert.
Hey, hey.
Yep. Well, I just finished driving
Okay, we got a
4
mask on our
hours from the
dashboard.
airport.
Dashboard.
I can hear you fiddling with something.
Hey. What? I gotta go, Mom.
You made it to Velvet Cove.
I gotta go.
I just parked and I have to get going.
Oh, what's the rush? Really, Swan? Can't we talk?
I am
Well,
paying
why is she
attention,
trying to
stares
talk, bro?
respectfully
I am
at back
early, I
Ayumii.
guess.
I need to mute you so I can focus low.
Meaning to ask you. When do you plan on coming to see me?
You know what? That's fair.
I know you don't like coming to Socialz, but
I hate
2 years,
socializing.
and it hasn't been easy for me with the pandemic and all.
Oh, this is the pandemic?
Lockdowns. you not being able to travel, not coming to visit me.
Mom,
It's been hard for everyone.
pretty
Wait,
hard for
what
everyone.
pandemic was happening in
know.
1980
I see
something?
you're avoiding my question as usual. Just think about it. About visiting.
Okay. Okay. I just got here though.
So, what's going on in Michigan? It's your first trip since the pandemic started. And it's to Velvet Cove.
Ooh, this is a
Of all
pretty cup.
places.
You guys have
haven't spoken
cups
to
like
these
this?
friends you're meeting since what, high school?
They're my friends from 95.
Yeah, I'm seeing those friends I met in 95.
Oh my god, there's a receipt. What did we just buy? A chicken,
We
a
made a
spicy
promise,
chicken meal from
but
the Fried
To
Hut.
be honest, I don't remember much from back
Holy
then.
shit, that stuff was. Oh!
I'm
scared.
hoping they can help me remember.
You're still thinking about promises you made when you were 16. You haven't
Ooh,
seen them
maple
in,
syrup.
what, 27 years?
Oh, it
Just-
sounds all liquidy.
Trust
Bottoms
me,
up. Go, 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 go,
I
go, go,
can't
go, go.
explain right now.
Was it a summer
Boarding
fling?
pass. Okay, so
One
she
of your
came
phases?
from. Not
Be
phase.
honest. Really, Swan?
Not with the face
It's
thing
not
again.
a phase.
It's always like this with you. You've always kept me in the dark.
Mom,
Back
I should
then,
thought I was having a
you'd
phase,
rather
bro.
converse with that cat than with us. What did you call him?
Pumpkin, Snowy, or Shadow?
Fluffy Gloom?
Pumpkin? I'm gonna go with Snowy.
his name was Snowy, Mom.
I named him
Oh,
Snowy. Your
right.
choices will have consequences.
Snowy. I'm sure I have some pictures of him around here somewhere.
My choices will have consequences. Your
I'll show you
face will
when you
have
visit.
consequences.
Mhm.
Also, my phone died.
Coming for Christmas, right?
I
Now
don't
that
know
you're
why my
traveling
phone
again?
died. Okay, now it's charging. It wasn't charging in the way I had input it for. I'll try to visit for the holidays.
I promise I'll try to visit around the holidays.
The
Okay?
reception's terrible. This is so frustrating. What did you say?
I don't know. I said I'll come if I
I
can.
said I'll come to Vancouver for the holidays if I can, okay? Let's talk about this another time.
I'll tell Aunt Peg to keep the guest room open for you.
Okay.
Your cousins will be there.
Alright, Mom, I
Everyone's
really
bringing
gotta
the
go
new
now. I'm
baby.
leaving. Stop trying to
I'll
keep me
decide
on a
later.
damn phone
I
call.
really have to go.
Oh my
Wait,
god, my
Swan.
mom's always trying to keep me talking on the
Bye.
phone. Bye, Mom. I thought they were gonna let me drive.
Wow. That was exhausting.
Imagine having to be on the phone with your mom for over 5 minutes. She was on the phone with her mother for 18. Lord have mercy. All right, let's scroll up. All right, we gotta scroll. Wait, hold on. It said scroll up, scroll up. All right, we're gonna figure out what's going on. Swan, it's Autumn Lockhart. Do you remember? We need to talk. It's about Bloom and Rage. I know it's sudden, but it's important. Autumn, I don't know what to say. Are you sure? Someone addressed a package to us, all of us. I can't bring myself to open it alone. Can you talk? Can you call me so we can talk about it? Give me a sec. Call ended. Thanks again for calling. It means a lot, Swan. I know we made a promise, but I just can't. I'll see you back in Velvet Cove. All right, I'll be there. Oh. Oh my goodness. Oh wait. Oh. Oh, that's so convenient. Okay. All right, how do I leave this? Thank you for the lurk, Blaze. And her phone is at 7%. Wait, but that's so real. Oh, hell no. Why did that crow have pink eyes?
Get it together.
All right. Do we have to switch off the headlight? Okay. And then what? And then what? Do we leave the car? How did she know I was fiddling with... Oh, turn off the engine. Look at me being a smart cookie. Oh, there it is. There it is. I figured out how to leave the car.
I can do this.
All right. The first step to recovery is leaving the car. Uh-oh. This does not look good. Oh my god. What's happening? What's happening? Oh wait. Oh, am I? Oh shit. Oh, I control this. Pick up the flashlight. Oh shit. I was wondering what was going on, bro. I'm not gonna hold you. What's that? Oh, hell no. Hold on, one of my pieces, my earring just fell out. Okay, W to move.
Velvet Cove. Just being here brings back memories.
I wonder when it fell out. Okay. Just being here brings back memories. Well, we don't want bad memories, so let's try that, you know? Alright, first things first. Settings. Controls. Vibration. Can I figure out the sensitivity? Yeah, can we like bump that down to like 30? Alright, there we go. Oh, much better. Okay. Alright, we locked our car. We have a nice little sedan. Or what is this? Oh, Wisconsin. Okay. Or we don't know how to park, I see. Oh, I thought I picked up a flashlight. Oh, that was in the flashback. Never mind. Oh my god, what is that? Pipe? Welcome, hunters. Oh. Reminisce.
What? You won't? I will.
Huh? Somebody's bike. Wait, what about the bike? Okay, examine a beer can.
Are you drunk, dude? No, I'm just crazy.
She's just crazy. Oh my god, motorcycle spotted. Oh my god, so that means that motorcycle babe is within reach. Oh my god, look, it's a little shift to run. I'm not really going nowhere. Look, this is walking speed. This is running. I'm truly not going anywhere. Okay, so this must be the other person's car. Oh wait, can I open the back door? Car reminisce.
I hope we stay friends through it all, too. You know?
Ooh, the echoes, you know? Wow, the sky. This is so detailed. Alright. Did I see something over there? Or am I batshit crazy? Nah, I'm just seeing stuff. Alright, I think we're gonna head in. What do you guys think? Let's head on in. And they're open, so it can't be too bad. Out of order. Phone don't work?
Take the Bloomin' Range stickers. Put them where everyone can see them.
Oh. So we had like a little, what, a gang or something? Alt to look closer. Oh. Box of Max. Okay. So these are surgical face masks. Surgical face masks. Right. Prohibited. Alright. Well, I most likely am the age of whatever I need to be in here.
This is it.
I think.
No going back.
We're not going back. Okay, as we go back.
Mom! I gotta go! It's summer break, you know?
It's raining.
Who cares?
Ooh.
Can't you help pack a few boxes till it
Is that
stops?
Swan?
It's gonna be muddy out on the trails.
We're taking the trails. Wait, where are we going?
Mud, it's fine. And I gotta go to the movie palace. My rental's due.
Fine.
Your rental? Oh, so where we were was the future.
I know.
And this is in 1995.
When you get back.
I'm closing my door.
That's rude. Imagine your mom's talking to you. You're like, okay, I'm closing the door now. Hold on, I need to
Where'd
grab
I leave
something.
that tape? The dark crystal.
This
Don't
water
want to pay
I'm
the
using
late
is
fee
not
this
working.
time.
So give me a moment. And I will quickly fix that. For some reason, this pink wire is not working no more. Or maybe I just gotta... Oh, wait. It's just because it's not plugged in all the way? No, it's just... Oh, wait. No. It was working. What? Dumb-ass wire. What the fuck is going on, bro? Alright, there we go. Now it's working. I don't know why it wasn't working before. Sorry. So my face was paused for a good chunk of that. But we're back. Alright, so this is Swan. Swan's adorable. Oh my god, this is when she was a little... when she was younger. All right, let's look around her room. Crumpled up paper. Ooh. Oh, unfold.
It was
Synchro team.
stupid to try.
Oh, she tried to join the swim team? Oh no, I bet that would have been so cute. You know what? I'm next when I grow up, or when I'm a kid again, or I don't know. When I retry life, I'm gonna join the swim team for you. All right, what we got going on this wallet?
I guess.
Oh wait, oh no. Oh my god, she's like so. She's like, wait, oh my god, wait, I can choose her outfit. Oh my god, okay, we're definitely going with the blue shirt. I don't know, I'm feeling the red pants. What do you guys think? Wait, purple. Oh my god. The blue or the purple with the red, either or works. I think we gotta go with the... You know what? I accidentally stumbled upon the outfit we're going for. I didn't even know we were getting dressed.
How do I look, Snowy? Bad?
No, you look great.
Just kidding.
Oh my
Sorry.
god, this is Snowy, the cat that I named.
Okay, where'd I hide that rental?
Okay.
Seriously.
So we're looking for a rental. Oh my god, what is that? Find it.
Oh, I can tell you were playing with my stuff again, Fluff Butt.
Fluff butt. Favorite flora from today's hike along Superior. Damn, that handwriting is terrible. What button is that? 3G? All right, favorite floral from today's hike along Superior. New Jersey tea, bottle brush, Northern Oak fern. September 1994. I can't believe I'm leaving Velvet Cove so soon. I suppose I'll bring a little bit of the force with me. May 1995. Okay, so all of this happened in 1995. Okay, there's nothing to scroll. Okay, got you. All right, I guess that's that. That's a cute binder. Oh, we got some pine cone. Pine cone action. Okay. Some trees. Oh, this is what she meant about Snowy's been there. Is it because I named you Snowy? Is it because I named you Snowy that you started scratching on my goddamn dresser? Oh my god, I'm missing one. Yo, this looks so busted. It's so real. It's like broken. Oh my gosh, she has a terrarium. What the fuck is that? Is that a stick bug? Oh my god, it's twerking. Is that its head or is that its head? I don't know. Okay, all right, we're just gonna do it out of there. Wow, wait, this is so cute. She's got like clouds on the ceiling. Switch on the fan. Yeah, let's get some like air in here, you know? Get like a vibe going on. Oh, this must be the rental. Yep, that must be the rental. So we're gonna come back to that in a moment. What is this? Dusk Sisters. Let's read that. Oh, that's all it is. That's all it is. She's got a camcorder. Oh, it's charging up.
These
I
backups
remember.
always take forever.
I remember that. Oh my god. I remember the yellow, white, and red you needed to hook up to connect most things. Damn.
Oh, don't forget the tape, Swan.
Okay. Don't forget the tape.
Thanks, Mom.
Oh, Mom put a snack for us.
Now, Dark Crystal. Where'd you hide it, Fluff Butt?
Fluff butt. Okay. Ooh, there's a floppy disk here. Digital dial-up. Join Cyber America. Free trial. Free 7-day trial. $50 value. All right. Okay. Cyber America. I don't know how I feel about that. I truly don't know how I feel about that.
Huh.
Ooh, moose
AV
horn.
Club could be cool.
AV Club.
Wonder if there'll be any other girls.
AV Club. They have AV and 4H Club. Wait, what does that say? G to read. Oh, 4-2H clubs? I don't know what that means. Welcome to Moose Horn Secondary, ranked in the top 20 secondary schools in British Columbia. Monarchs, home to the reigning 1994 Trick City hockey champions. Oh, Moose Horn Monarchs join junior varsity and varsity tryouts for the 95 to 96 season begin August 14th. Okay, interesting. Postcard. Ooh, Vancouver. Dear Swan, I went to see your new house. You're going to love it. The backyard goes straight to the pond, and I saw a mama duck and her ducklings there yesterday. Oh, and the family next door seems very nice. They have a son about your age, and I told him all about my favorite niece, Swan Holloway. Ooh. All right, guys, we're doxxed. That is her address. Can't wait to see you. Travel safe. Love, Aunt Peg. Oh, that's cute. Thank you, Aunt Peg. Oh my god, wait. Aren't these one of those things? One of those little... Oh my god! Wait. Wait, I'm gonna play with him?
Should we get out your toy?
Yeah, get his toy out. Get his toy out. And then feed it. Oh, wait, he's eating! And then we gotta clean his mess. Come here, we're gonna clean your mess. Wait, that's so cute. Agenda. Okay, ooh. I love how her book looks. It's so cute and so organized. Property of Swan Holloway. Summer reading list. A separate piece by J. Knowles. Their Eyes Were Watching God by Z. Neil Hurston. Slaughterhouse 5 by Kurt Vonnegut. Title Ideas for My Memoir. The Swan Show. As the Swan Turns. The Swan Files. I actually like As the Swan Turns. That's cute. She's writing a memoir. That's interesting. What are memoirs? Are they like things you get to remember me by? Alright, Movie Palace.
Movie Palace. This is it.
Oh, alright, alright. We found it. G? Oh, how do I take it? Oh, open. Okay, there we go.
Oh, well, I can't return this without the tape.
Oh, there's no tape
It
inside.
must be in the wrong case.
Okay, so that means we gotta go looking in all her cases? What the fuck? Alright, it's none of this one. Okay, what is this one, though? This one is Sliders, episode 1 and 2, pilot, episode 3, 5, fever. Gargoyles, Awakening, part 1 and 2. Oh, is this her story she's making? She's very cute. Are you dreading the move? Are you excited for the move? Are you excited for the move, Kat?
Are you excited to move, buddy?
We're
I hope
gonna
there's a
move.
good movie theater at least in
Yeah.
Vancouver.
Thank you for the check-in. Hi, Gooby. Ooh, the rain is nice.
Better hurry. Oh, I love it when it rains like this.
Ooh, this is so real. All right, these are some. Gotta start
I
packing. some
know
boxes.
you think these boxes are yours, Snowy, but I've gotta pack them for the move soon.
Okay, okay. All right, we already looked in there. Wait, what is this? Oh, wait, there's something here that I didn't look at. Oh my god, I used to slap this on people. This slappy, like sticky, toy. Oh my goodness. Wait, is this her? Swan the Teenage Witch. Visit 1994. Oh wow. Do people actually name all their photos? Such a fun gal. She's got a mushroom. Mushroom! And then, is this a grave? Boo! Ah! They got me. They got me. So we got the case, but we do not have the tape. Ooh, what's that? Candy dispenser.
Collector's edition. Too bad the candy tastes like chalk.
Oh, we'll bring that shit back. Chalky candy? Hell no. Naming photos was pretty normal back then. I see. Ibuprofen. Pain reliever, fever reducer. What does it fix and what the hell does it do? Ibuprofen. That sounds so difficult. Ooh, illusion eye.
People who say they can see these things must be totally lying. How do you even go cross-eyed?
Cross-eyed? Let's read. Relax your eyes and prepare to gaze into an entirely new three-dimensional reality that exists inside this book. To discover your very own illusion eye, begin by holding the book close to your face while trying to focus on the imagery point that you envision existing far beyond the book cover. Slowly pull the book away without adjusting your gaze. Soon you'll witness the true magic of illusion eye. Stare long enough and perhaps the illusion will stare back at you. What? What black magic? What fucking nonsense. Get that shit out of here. Gem journey. Oh my god. So many people start, like, they sell gems now. Rose quartz, reflections of love and warmth. Lapis lazuli, a kaleidoscope of wisdom. Tiger's eye, the Earth's own creative energy. Interesting. I like that. That's cute. All right, we're on our mission to keep looking for the tape. Oh my gosh, she's got these adorable monster slippers. Monster slippers. Monster slippers. And she's got like a little mouse right here. Imagine waking up and thinking that's a real mouse. All right, bookshelf. Oh, hell no. There's too many books. Wonder Watch. All right. All right. This is a book, Shivers Lane. Hannah Paul's Revenge. Interesting. I'm actually going to read this. A new family has moved next door on Shivers Lane. Jessica Hatfield can't help but notice that their dark and brooding teenage son, Luke, has a habit of standing out in their backyard late at night and staring up at the night sky. A chance encounter under a full moon leads to a kiss that awakens something in Jessica. Suddenly, her vision and hearing are sharper, and she finds herself consumed by a hunger that can't be sedated. Strangest of all, she sometimes wakes in her own bed only to discover that her bare feet are caked in dirt, and there is something that looks like dried blood under her fingernails. Luke tells her that she can trust him, but when people in the town start to go missing, she wonders if Luke and his pride are setting her up to take the blame. But she can't remember what happens at night when the full moon rises. Oh. So a kiss turned her into a fucking vampire? What the fuck? Hi, Ayumii. Hi, Liquid. Welcome in. Anna Rippling, the Willow Tree Covering. Okay, let's read this one too. For generations. Hold on. Give me 1 second. Sorry, I had a phone call. Okay. So let's see. For generations, the vulnerable Aleri family of Saint Laundry. Okay. Laundry or Landry. Landry? Saint Landry has been haunted by a legacy of vanishing women. Oh, spellbinding. Okay. The eldest daughter in each branch of the family tree is born to an ominous fate to disappear just as she reaches womanhood. What? Never to be found again. Now, one young woman is consumed by an insatiable thirst to understand the origin of her family's curse before the same dark fate befalls her. Heloise Aleri is driven to uncover the truth behind the enigma that has shrouded her bloodline for centuries. Amidst the sweltering bales and whispering willows of Nightingale Isle, Heloise discovers a clue that could unravel an entire dynasty. 3 words written in ash will lead her down a path from which she may never return. I'm like so into these stories.
I still don't understand the difference between f-stops and ISO.
How to shoot any scene from a silver screen. Mastering cinematography. Interesting. Veteran cinematographer Martin Harser shares over 100 techniques for lighting and framing the perfect shots to bring your film to life. Okay. So she's confused about something in that. Wait, that's so cute. Oh wait, we read this one. I think the haunted lighthouse. School notes. Oh, she drew a little frog. That's so fucking cute. Oh my god. Art history, week 5. Okay. Don't worry, it's a racing snail. Wait, that's cute. All right, we looked in our bookshelf and I didn't find nothing. Newton's. Wait, what was that? Newton something. Oh my god, now it's just swinging. All right, oh, we have a case. Let's open it and see what's inside.
The dark crystal. Bingo.
Oh, wait, that's easy.
Wish I didn't have to return it today. But I do. So I better get packed.
Ooh, okay. So let's pick out the videotape. Close this.
If only the dark crystal world was real.
The dark
I'd love to live there, Fluff, but...
Hold on, wait. Lie down. We're gonna lie down in bed. We can lie down! Yeah! Oh my god. Time to forget the world and just lay down. Watch the fan move. Dusk Sisters. Casper. Okay, paint. Art stuff. I love how she labels stuff. Oh, this is cute. The focus, the... Interesting. Snowy! Snowy came to lay down with me. We have to say goodbye to this room soon.
Good boy, good boy.
Oh, you're a boy?
Love you, Snowy.
Oh, you're so cute! I love Snowy.
I won't be out too long, Fuzzbutt. We'll watch a movie on the couch tonight, right?
Ooh. Nothing like cuddling and being with your cat. Who needs people when you have pet cat? Listen, why get up when I can sit here and pet the cat 33 times? Okay, I think I'm gonna make a world record of petting the cat as many times as possible. Oh, that's so loving. Oh, that's so sweet. I can't stand the fact that she's laying in her bed with shoes on. I cannot stand the fact that she's doing that. All right, but you know what? We got her dressed up in the nicest fit ever. All right, we checked around her whole room, by the way. So I believe we're gonna get her bag, and then we're gonna vamoose. Oh, what's that? This is the only thing I haven't seen. Fanny pack. Oh. Oh my goodness! She's got like these the zoomies. Wait, that's so cute. She's got like these little keys or like charms or something. I don't fucking know. All right, book. Black.
Such a classic. Too bad that movie sucked. Bet I could have made a better adaptation. Something like that Kubrick one.
Ooh, she's addicted to movies. I don't know what she's talking about. Who's Kubrick? I wish I could, like, you know, get the reference she's talking about. I feel like I'm gonna have to, like, I feel like to get certain, like, things in games and stuff like that, you do have to, you know a good bit of lore I wish they gave you like a prologue for lore. A prologue so I could get the jokes. I can get the little, you know.
Oh, backup's done. Perfect. I can film you a bit before I leave, Snowy. Let me just grab my camcorder.
Camcorder is so cute. She's got little stickers. And then why did the TV turn on? Oh, is that how it worked? Oh, okay. Ooh. All right, we're gonna.
Thanks, Dad. Best Sweet 16 present ever.
Aww. All right, so now let's record Snowy. Oh, we're putting our fanny pack. Oh my gosh, she is suited up to go. She got her fanny pack. She got her backpack.
I'll never get sick of filming you, buddy.
Oh, that's so cute. How do I pull out my camcorder? New memoir. Ooh. Tap to capture my favorite feline Snowy. Oh, time to capture. Time to capture. Right click to use camcorder. There we go. All right, let's get recording. Ooh, should I call this a meow more?
Should I call this a meow more?
Meow more. Gotta get the cat butt. Gotta make sure every recording needs a cat butt. Kitty! Kitty! Let's go. Space to continue. In memoirs, you can edit, watch, and check the status of memoirs. Okay. In footage, you can review footage used in memoirs. You completed Watch your memoir. Snowy's memoir, July 7th, 1995.
Here's my little fluff butt. The star of my daily shoots.
I'm dead. My camera is so fucking shaky, bro.
Videos.
My camera is so shaky. I gotta get better next time. Snowy's memoir. Listen, next time I'm gonna do better. Don't worry. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, buddy. That's good. What
Oh.
else should I shoot in here?
Oh, okay. Let's stand up.
I want to record as much as I can before we move, buddy.
Ooh, okay. So I like how we were supposed to go somewhere and then we ended up shooting our movie. All right, I'm gonna be less shaky with the I'm gonna be less shaky with the camera this time, okay? This time I'm gonna be more careful. We got this going on. We got this going on. Oh, I see.
Can't believe I've got to pack all this up soon.
I'm gonna like do some movement. You know what I'm talking about? All right, let's see. Then we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this.
I already miss camp.
There we go. There we go. All right. Gotta get some movement.
What else?
There we go. Is there anything else we could film in here? Or is that it? 3 out of 4? Or did I already get that? Oh shit. Oh wait, there's this.
This looks cool.
Yeah. Look at that. Look at that. That W photographer, you know? Ooh, let me get
That was
some.
good.
Let me get some of that. Got my slippers, you know what I'm talking about? Right?
Imagine forgetting you muted the stream, then can't figure out why back Ayumii is being quiet. Lol.
Ain't no way you muted and you're like, wait, why is she so quiet? You muted me! You muted me. Hi. Oh, we got this stuff right here too.
The lights are off.
Wait, the lights are off. The lights are off? How do I turn the lights on? Oh, do I go over here? I think I gotta turn the... Wait, what?
Couldn't have been me. I will say it's been peaceful with you muted.
I'm so dead. How do I turn on the light? Wait, let me see. Is there a way to turn the light on? How do I turn the light on? Alright, it's plugged in. And let me get back in there. There we go. I recorded a lot of stuff. Alright, let's check out the memoir. How do I check out the memoir? Oh, wait. Oh, I'm dumb as hell. I didn't even notice that. Right, there we go. Now we got a light. Okay, now we can stop recording, get out of there, and then we're gonna press, what is it, tab? Ooh. Okay, I should, ooh, footage. Look at all this cool footage I got, bro. Let's play Memoir, the Swan Zone.
Here we are, in my natural habitat. Since forever. Can't believe I've got to pack all this up. Weird to imagine living anywhere else.
I can't
But
believe there's
we'll be
two
packing up
voice lines
soon
going
and
at the
leaving
same
it all
time.
behind. I already miss camp. I'll never forget this place. I'm really gonna miss it.
Oh, was it like
This
when I was
looks
recording?
cool.
Yo, I'm doing some really good angles here. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. I actually cooked with that memoir. Okay. Hold on. I cooked with that memoir. Hold on.
Alrighty.
Snowy, we finished. Oh my god, the cat talking to me. Wait, it was raining outside. Now it's sunny.
Don't scare him off, Snowy.
Wait, what? What?
That's the perfect shot.
Is it really? Okay. F. Okay, we're gonna... Oh, wait, sorry. There it is. Ooh. More cat. Okay. All right, there we go. Okay. I'm confused. More cat? Switch off the fan? Nah. Wait, it says 1 out of 9. Where's the cardinal, bro?
Oh, look at bird brain. Stro, I found you in game.
Watching the... Stro, this is you! Okay, let's see. I know I already caught this angle. What more do I have to catch? This is 1 out of 9. Did I do it? No, I did not. More cat. Oh, okay. Okay, we're gonna zoom. Oh, there we go. Ooh, water tower. Oh, I see. I think I get it. I've been recording this whole time and I'm so confused. Did I not get it? Did I not get the perfect shot? Cat watching the bird? Hold on, what is happening? I'm gonna have to delete some of those shots. Holy. Holy. What am I supposed to be doing? Alright, I'm supposed to be obviously taking some type of shot of that little guy. I don't have one. More cat? Okay, but like, why is it not capturing? Look, I did all the ones with the bird. It's not realizing. Oh my god, I have 4% storage. Holy. Holy! I'm already doing a lot. Okay, let me do. There we go. Okay, I got it. I got it.
That's a wrap. I'll film more on the trail. Better get going.
Okay, now we're done. Okay, I just had to zoom in all the way. Goodbye, Snowy.
Bye, Snowy. Love you.
Oh man, this place looks scary. Oh, hell no. Hello?
Hi there. Be out in a jiff.
Zoom in on D's.
Short staff.
Hesat.
No, I refuse.
Take your time.
Oh, we're real early. Liquor?
Where'd you guys get those beers? My dad's extra fridge. He never notices.
If he catches you, you're so dead.
Holy.
You know what? Fuck it. Maybe I want to get caught. If you kick me out, I could go live with my mom.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so Nora has problems with her dad, and she would prefer living with her mom. Okay. Then we got a chalkboard. Are we the only girl in here with a bunch of dudes? Oh my goodness.
One mystery drink coming right up. You ready?
I was born ready.
Ooh.
No pinching your nose.
Yeah, we know that trick.
All right, try our signature cocktail frostbite. Let me see what it says. Specials. I can't really see. Specials: sliders, stuffed potato chips, wings, jalapeno, no poppers, and nachos. Interesting. Ooh, and then the radio. So
Seriously,
we've been here before.
You've got to come over. You have like so much to learn. We'll start with some punk music, obviously.
Oh my god, did they give me peanuts? Oh hell no, I don't eat peanuts. All right, you know what? Let's snack on one. Okay, actually I can't snack on one. Let me look at my phone.
Wonder if he's got a spare charger.
Oh dear, do we not have a spare charger? Oh my god, our phone case is so cute. Look, it's Snowy! It's like a picture of Snowy. Damn, 1% is kind of fucking nuts, bro. I'm not gonna lie. Hold on, can we get up? Am I stuck here? Ooh, there's a deer head. Uh-oh. This is transporting us back to the past. Oh, okay, now we're going on the trail. Oh, there's a net, and it's locked. Are we locked out, or is it locked in? Ooh, look at our girl filming. Go Swan. Go Swan.
Come on, hold. No, don't leave.
God damn it. Come back
I
over.
wonder if they ever try to jump the fence.
Oh my god, I thought I... Oh no.
I'm so glad it's not hunting season.
Okay, hunting discovered. Alright, we gotta be still. We gotta be as still as a bird. We cannot move. I'm gonna wait till he moves back in frame.
Oh, he's back.
Don't move, don't move.
Swan here. This is the Michelson Ranch. These deer are bred and raised for sport. Hunting season's in the fall. You can always hear the gunshots from this place.
That's so gross. All done.
That's a wrap.
Wait, that's so fucking gross. Like, she's so cute. She's like always in her camera. I love that. I love that.
Hello? Any little forest friends out there?
Forest friends. Look, a deer. Oh my god, the music. Yeah. This is cute. Oh, hi. Hello, little froggy.
Geese!
Geese.
Maybe I can catch them on tape.
Get him, get him, get him, get him. Okay, some subjects should be recorded as a group. Okay. So, let me see. Let me zoom out. Alright, there we go.
Wonder
Can we
where
record
you
that?
three went last winter.
And there we go. We got some Canada Goose. Beautiful.
If I shoot something better, I can add it in later. Hello. Are you a frog? Or a prince?
It gotta be a prince. He can only be a prince. We're only accepting princes out here. Oh my god, you guys see the critters, the bugs? We're done. What was that over there? A little critter!
Hi there. Getting ready for fall?
Ooh, a squirrel. I'm getting all the footage. Hell fucking yeah. Let's see if there's anything else. I hear the geese. Is there anything else? Ooh, okay, we're gonna get some more deer.
Whoa. Big stag. Hoping those ladies will notice you.
I'm dead. Is that the same guy? Wow, he's huge. Look at this deer. Look at him move. All right, let's get out of here. Is there anything else I can record? All right, we're looking at all this beautiful nature. Wow, this is really good. I'm not gonna lie. I'm loving this so far. Oh, wait.
And here are some wild does. Or maybe they escaped from the Michelsons. That'd be so crazy.
Imagine, bro. Those are the people who captured the ducks for sport. Not the ducks, the deer. I already got that. All right, just double checking. Is there anything I'm missing? I like how. Oh, is that the deer? Is that the deer that we saw the head of? And his future is on that. Oh no. Oh no.
Done.
All done. I'm so glad I waited.
Aw, come back.
Oh, they're gone. Well, what can we expect, sweethearts? It's nature. It comes and goes as it pleases.
Everyone left. Guess I'm alone. As usual.
Oh no, that's so sad. Are we hungry right now?
Where'd I put that granola bar?
Ooh, granola bar. Snack time. I love snacks. Yo, bros, I got a snack too. It's water. I got water for snack. Damn, this is so picturesque. Fudge. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. This is so cute. These are some great shots. Love it. W cinematography, W graphics, W music, W vocal, like the VA voice acting. Dang. Alright, I guess it's time to get up and get away from all this life. These are pretty. Oh, are those gonna be the plant she documents in that binder that we saw in her room?
Hello, squirrel. Wanna be in my movie?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Get her in the movie. Get the squirrel in the movie. Where's the squirrel? Oh, crouch. Okay. Hold on. Let's get that little guy. Hi, little birdie. Alright. Let's look at these little critters over here. Okay, these are some more birds. Oh, look at the little birdies.
Whoa. Got somewhere to be, little guy?
No, don't go nowhere. Don't go nowhere. Let me capture you in the beauty, in the essence. Where's the squirrel? I hear something like on my right. Where is that noise? I hear the birds. Where's the squirrel? What fucking noise is that? Where's the squirrel, bro?
Oh, sorry, birdie.
I'm not sorry. Wait, where? Oh, are they gonna come back? Oh, there's that. Oh, there they are. There they are. Oh, we're not really focusing on any specific film subject, so that's why it's not like capturing. Oh, okay, stop. Please don't fly away. Alright, it's not working. Oh wait, okay, there we go.
Oh my gosh. Now I feel like a peeping Tom.
Hey yo, what the fuck is going on? What are we watching? Holy! Yo! going at it right now. What the heck? What the hecking heck? Oh, there's a bird over here. There are birdies over here. Oh, wait, what the hell is that? Oh, hunting. Oh. I see, I see. Okay. I also heard something over here. What the hell is that noise? It's like, I'm hearing like a squeak over here. It seems like it's just like in my fucking ear. That's what it fucking is. That's what it is. It's just like a squeaking in my goddamn ear.
What time is it? I totally spaced out. Hope the movie palace is still open.
Uh-oh, uh-oh. Okay, so we're gonna just doodle on out of here. You nasty! Get off the train! Get off the train, nasty! What the hell? Alright, let's leave, brothers. Did I drive here? She got so lost in filming. Oh my god, I would love to do something like this. Like take a recording camera and just like go be one with nature. Feel the wind. Did she walk all the way here? She's brave for that. And she's not walking no short thing. She's walking miles, mind you. She be walking far. Oh, the blue spruce. This is where we are right now in the future. Jump to the future. Crazy.
Thanks for waiting. The new bar back calls out if he so much as sneezes. Everything okay, miss?
Oh, sorry. I spaced out.
Oh dear.
No worries. Didn't mean to scare you.
Damn, why are you looking
I'm
at my
Gus.
face? Hi, Gus. How are you?
Hello. How are you?
Can't complain?
Oh, okay.
You don't look too familiar. You from out of town?
I grew up here.
Don't see new faces all that often. Not this time of year, anyway.
I grew up here. Moved out to Canada years ago now.
Yeah.
Oh, well, welcome back.
This is her
Thanks.
home.
Say, you happen to be meeting someone? A lady about your age came in just before you.
Oh, really? Wait,
Oh.
where?
I am an old friend from school. We're having a little reunion.
Why are you looking at me
Thought
like
so.
that, Gus? You're like looking
Nice
into
that
me
you're
my
doing that.
soul. Aw.
Keeping in touch after so many years, that's tough for a lot of people.
That's true. It's
Even
kind of a
with all
special
those
night.
apps.
Thanks.
Oh, I'm getting it. I'm
kind of a
piecing it
special night.
together.
I never thought we'd see each other again.
Gotta make
Really?
the best of it. You never know when it'll be the last time.
Indeed.
Don't mind me, I just ramble on sometimes.
That's okay, Gus.
So,
you know what?
what
Thanks
can I
for
do for you?
entertaining me. Look
let me know.
around for a few choices. Okay. Do you have a spare
I
phone
could
charger?
use a phone charger if you've got
Oh,
one.
of course. Yeah, we got a plug back here somewhere. Works for most of them except those brand new ones.
Ooh, okay. Thank you.
Oh, thanks.
You bet. What about a drink? We've got some specials for happy hour.
Oh, okay. You know what? I'll take.
Or maybe you'd rather wait and order with your friend?
Yeah, I'll wait for my friends to wait.
Thanks. I'll wait for my friends.
That's a W idea.
Might scoot on over to the bathroom in the meantime. Long drive.
Oh, damn.
Oh, where's the ladies' room?
Just down the hall to your right.
Dang, why is his hand so big?
Well, nice to meet you. And welcome home.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks.
Yo, his hand is huge. God damn, Gus. What you doing with them hands? And hello to you, mister. I've been seeing you in the corner of my eye.
Hey there, miss.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
Oh, dear. I'm so sorry, Albert. Oh. Hey there, miss. Oh, okay. Oh, all right. No, I'm just going. Oh, how do I can't see anything? Reminisce about a beer bottle right
Dude,
here.
you have got to chill.
How can you just sit there like drinking a fucking beer right now? This is like actually bad. We might totally be screwed.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, it seems like things are heating up in the past. In her reminiscing.
Swan, get over here. I know you know all the words.
You know what? I'm gonna sing it out. La 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 la. I'm gonna sing every word. You know what I'm saying? 19. All right. This is the gent. This is the ladies. All right, let's get up on in there.
Sorry, just give me a sec.
Oh, is that who we're here to meet? Sorry, we're closed. Why are you closed? No, no, we took too long. Why did we take so long? Oh, return box. There we go. As long as we return it before tomorrow, it should be fine. Steal all that ice cream. Greedy? Why you guys need all that ice cream, huh? You know what? Film it. Film
Here
it.
we have evidence of a minor suburban tragedy.
Oh.
A dropped ice cream cone.
That little
But
ants.
in nature, nothing goes to waste. And
Hey.
now we discovered the source of the ill-fated cone.
The
Uber
Uber Scooper.
Hey, it finally reopened.
Last chance for scoops.
Ice cream, you scream, we all scream for ice cream.
Ooh.
Nor.
A frozen slushie on a hot summer's day. Maybe I should get one.
For research. Yeah, for research,
And then capture more
Swan.
footage. Lots to do before I head home.
Oh my god, those are
This
our
has been
future
Swan,
friends.
filming at the Movie Palace on July 7th, 1995. More to come.
Ooh, okay, okay. Ooh, let's look at our new memoir. Okay, ooh, so kitty, birds, hunting. Where's the new memoir? Movie Palace? Oh, I don't have anything. Oh, did I not get everything for my critter memoir? Oh, I see. When you film enough stuff, it'll make a memoir. Okay. Excuse me. I would like a frozen treat, please.
89. 94. Can you stop? Ugh, you made me lose my place.
We're gonna meowdy.
Hi?
Ooh, she's closing. Sorry.
No.
Nora, cut it out.
No, you just got
I mean,
here.
I guess I don't mind missing the trailers.
Chill.
I can come by another time.
Just let me know if you have any questions.
Never mind. I'll try again some other time. Since you're closing.
You're a lifesaver.
Aw.
Bye then. Sorry to bug you.
Aw, you're so sweet.
No
Swan.
problem.
Dude, I'm melting.
Did you graduate
Thank
yet?
God the
No, I
multiplex
didn't
keeps their
graduate.
AC on blast.
You're going to the movies?
Yeah. Right after this.
That's awesome. I love movies.
Yeah, we love movies.
Not much to do around here anyways. Right?
Yeah. It's a nice theater.
So, see you around.
Oh no, we should have been
There
like.
we go. Oh. Swan?
Autumn. It's really you. This is... Wow,
Oh my goodness.
unbelievable. It's been so long.
It's been so long. Of course we're gonna hug it out.
This is just crazy.
Of course we're hugging it out.
It is.
Hello.
I wasn't sure if I'd recognize you.
I'm still the same old Swan.
Still the same old Swan.
Good.
Oh my god, is this
You
like a
were waiting,
romanceable?
right? Go
Yeah.
ahead. We'll catch up. I'm at the last booth. Left of the front door. See you there.
Oh.
Okay. I'll just be a minute.
Why are they talking so slow? It's like making me feel weird. All right, guys, time to go poop my heart out. Thank you for the check-in. Hi, Ayumii. Not the damn. Fuck you. Damn, did we miss a chance to meet Autumn and Nora and go to the movies with them? No. You should have asked them to go. Damn. I know it might have been tough.
Are we there yet?
No.
Are we there yet?
Are we there yet? It's crazy.
Dude, I'm surprised your parents haven't put you up for adoption.
That's crazy.
Oh my god.
That's crazy. They're kind of funny.
Hey, I don't think my boss would want a customer wandering around back here.
Oops.
Oh. Oops. All good. You sound so serious.
It's weird.
Uh-huh.
Can I talk to them? Is she like wearing just jeans?
Sorry, but I could really get in trouble letting you back here.
Oh, Cripes, I'll leave.
I'll leave.
Sorry.
Thanks.
I'm being a weirdo. Holy, I'm an awkward individual. She said I couldn't be back there, and I'm just over there snooping, bro. Like, I'm looking around all up in her business. Damn. All right, let's. Oh my god, one of them's on their period. Oh my god, girl, I can relate. Yeah. Check you guys at the next time. All right. I'm gonna go through the fence.
Still have some stuff I want to film.
Oh, we're filming some stuff? What are we filming? Are we gonna film them?
Who are you thinking? I want names.
Oh, wait, that's right. Oh, yeah. How can I forget? Oh, wait, sorry. We're gonna film this. We're filming the Uber Scooper. Alright, there we go. There we go. Okay, we got the Uber Scooper, boys. Oh, thank goodness they told me to film some stuff, because my dumbass was about to fucking leave without filming anything.
Trash to some, treasure to others.
Ooh, okay.
Please. It's not a big deal.
Maybe not for you.
Ooh.
Every time I stand up, it's like the
There we go.
elevator
Okay, we got a
shining
poster.
over here.
Hold on, my audio's like all fucked. Oh, there's like a thing right there.
No, wait.
Oh, I thought my audio was fucked. No, they're just coming out of one ear. That's crazy.
Her doctor is like
All right, let's zoom in. Where's R? Now we're zooming into this.
I can tell.
There we go. Nah, we just want that. Did I get it? No, I don't think I got it. I don't think I got it. What is this? Trying to get this and this alone. Did I get it? All right, graffiti. All right, we've unlocked graffiti. Oh, look, there's more. There's more. There's more. There we go. Danger, do not enter. I'll do what I want, bozo. Oh, yeah, there was a sign on the ground, right? There was like a... Oh, wait, what's this? Ooh, we got some... Ooh, we got some stuff to film. Oh, I'm so sorry. The movie palace. All right, we got that. What else we got cooking? We got... What is this? What is this? There's like something I'm... sing on. Is it this? Alright, we're gonna film this scenery right here. Scenic views. Let's go. Your girl's upgrading. Alright, let's get this bad boy. I don't think I got this. There we go. Newspaper stand. Movie palace complete. Let's play the memoir. Okay, I have to edit memoir. I don't want to edit it. Reorder the footage. Oh, okay. That's how you... Okay. Alright, to confirm. Okay. So let's watch the movie palace. My cinema. Ooh. We start with...
Dad and I used to spend practically every weekend at the movie palace.
Ooh,
So
okay.
much fun just wandering around
Welcome
the aisles,
in,
picking out tapes,
Raiders.
trash, choosing our next adventure. I think that's why I love movies so much. You showed me that
I'm Ayumii.
each one was a
Welcome
new
to my
world,
cloud kingdom where the sky's
just
not the limit. I hope you're
waiting
all
to be
having a wonderful
discovered.
day. Welcome in, hi Fizz. We are currently playing Lost Records, Bloom and Rage. Thank you so much for joining us for this adventure we're stepping upon. Wow, look at my beautiful camera work. Look at my beautiful camera work right there. Wait, the beginning was good and then it just like kind of, you know, fizzles out, unfortunately.
Jeez. Dad and I used to spend practically every weekend at the movie palace. It was so much fun just wandering around the aisles, picking out tapes, trash, choosing our next adventure. I think
Thank you for
that's why
shouting
I
out
love
Fizz.
movies so much.
How was your stream?
You
How was
showed
Resident
me
Evil
that
2?
each one was a new world, just waiting to be discovered.
W, yeah, my goal is to like try to move every time I'm filming something. Yeah. I gotta take a better scenic one, but all right, let's see. We got my room, we got kitty, graffiti we're working on, tower we're working on, scenic views we're working on, hunting we're working on, birds, critters, we're working on all of these members.
I'm
right, baby?
so gonna be late for Dad's party. I should go.
Wait, there's one more thing we can. Porcupine Mountain. What's that? Oh my god, a car just drove by. Oh, those are just somebody's scenic views. 1 out of 5. Movie Palace. We complete. Oh, what's over there? What's this over here? Hold on, what you gotta do? Alright. There we go. I gotta get that scene. You know what I'm saying?
Oh. Maybe I should call Mom.
Look at these birds. There we go. There we go. All right, I got a perfect scene there. Movie Palace.
I saw that movie. It wasn't even that scary.
What? You telling me you made a movie that's not even scary? What the hell is wrong with you? Ooh, there's some birds over there. There's some birds. Ooh, there's some birds. Oh my god, this game is so good. It was good. I gotta go, but I hope you have an amazing stream. This game is so good, really? I'm so glad I'm playing it then. Have a good night, Fizz. Wait, let me zoom out.
Oh, crap. I'd better use my shortcut today. I'm late. To the fence.
I gotta film the birdie. I gotta film the birdie. Alright, let's see. I know she said we're late, but at the same time, there's like mad stuff I'm gonna try right now. I could climb the ladder? What the hell? You think I'm leaving right now? Nah, we gonna be late. We finna be late for real, for real. We finna be late for real, for real. Like, we're gonna be late. We're gonna be late. Did I get it? There we go. There we go. What about this? Okay, let's do. And there it is. I gotta make sure I'm pressing stop, because if I don't, then it's gonna like make a long recording. What is here? Oh, I think I saw something here. Oh, trading cards. Hey, yo, Humpty Dumpty. Nursery crimes. I'm so dead. Wait, hold on. There's a ladder right here. I think I, for one, should climb the ladder. I know we recorded that. Wait, sorry. Okay, let's zoom real quick. This has been recorded. Oh, the water tower.
Oh, Mom's gonna kill me when I get home. I'm definitely late.
The water
Knock knock, the
go.
clouds turned grey, the
It'd be
sky
more fun
turned
to film
black,
if it's
the
normally.
lightning strikes and the wind blows. I have arrived. How are you, my lovely queen?
I am
Less than
wonderful.
3.
How are you? Hi, Landon. Welcome in. Welcome in. Welcome to my Cloud Kingdom. We are currently playing Lost in Bloom Blood Rage. Thank you for joining us. Apparently, from Fizz, this game is very good.
Hopefully that guy who works here isn't around.
Imagine he comes up behind us. That'd be some crazy shit. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, what the fuck? She wants us to go home. Look at all this content we could be recording. Hi, Minnie. You're hungry. All right, go get some food. Ooh. Oh, there's hot dogs. There are hot dogs. All right, there's that. Okay, what else do we got? We got that. Did we get this? Oh, no, we didn't. All right, there we go. We got that for graffiti. Oh no, something is on. Oh, look, bird? Oh, does that not count as a bird? Wow. Alright, there we go. Yeah, what is this?
That guy must have thrown a party up here.
Ooh.
Oh, for the 4th of July, I guess.
Ooh, okay, moving in.
Okay, I really gotta go. If I cut through the fence, I shouldn't be too late.
Okay, that's great and all, but I'm not done recording. I'm getting all the goodies. You're not stopping me. Damn, Dean's Autumn's a fat bitch. All right. What the fuck did Autumn do to you? What the fuck? That's rude. All right, drop and roll. Give me 20. All right, let's see. What else do we got? What else do we got that we can record? Oh, scenic views. The goal is to like definitely move when I'm recording so that I can like, you know. All right, we got this. Is this all the scenic view? Okay. I think I got all of this. Let's see what else we got. Movie palace. Movie palace. Ooh, birdie.
Beep beep.
I'm like moving slowly, so there's like motion in the camera. So it's not like a still fucking image, you know what I mean? 4 to 5, does that count? I guess it doesn't count. Ooh, what's here? Examine the beer packs. They definitely had a party up here. Built for the wild. Oh, what the fuck? That scared the hell out of me. Ooh, a frisbee. A frisbee. They even had fireworks.
I definitely heard them setting these off the other night.
We should have came up and had some fun with them. Spray paint. Alright, we got some spray paint. We got some graffiti.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh is right. That's what I said. Oh, we got a lighter. Oh, that's cute. Oh, this is so cute. How'd you like my introduction when I entered? Oh, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Oh my god, they were getting lit. What the fuck? They were doing everything. They were doing everything over here. You know what I'm saying? They got a bong. How did they get this fan out here in the open to work? That's what I want to know. Ooh, wait, look. There's some stuff. I know we're going to be late. They were playing some cute games. Wait. They were playing fucking D&D. Oh my god. They were getting high and playing D&D. Wait, I love that. Wait, can I record this? Wait, that is so cute.
Wow.
Hex heart. Jesus, where's her fucking clothes? Splash into summer. Wow. You can see like a little bit of shine on it. God damn, where her clothes at? She don't got no clothes on. Yo, GTA 5 throwback. Let's go. Ooh, let's sit and relax a bit. We're not done recording, okay? And now that I know that we could be recording stuff, I'm like, I'm chilling. I'm vibing. I'm trying to get all the memoirs. That's my real true goal. We're gonna be going through.
Nothing about me is fast. And I totally like it that way. Especially in summer. I don't want it to end, but everyone else is always in a hurry. I really don't get it. It's not like they're going anywhere. Not in this town.
I'm dead.
I'd rather slow down and watch the little moments.
I feel that. I feel that.
That's just me, I guess.
Sometimes you just gotta sit and relax and vibe, you know? Damn. But I think we do gotta go though. Sometimes you just gotta be able to live in the moment. She's like a wallflower. She's like in there, but like at the same time, she's also like at her own pace. She knows who she wants to be. She's not who she is because she's afraid. She's who she is because she's more of like a calm person. And I respect that wholeheartedly. Living la vida loca. You know what I'm talking about? I love her life she's living. Okay, let's see if there's anything else we can record. I think I recorded everything upstairs. Oh, I did not record this. Oh, there we go. Oh my god, you gotta be careful because sometimes when stuff don't confirm, it's not gonna, you know, it doesn't count. Kyle was here. I love the fact that there's graffiti on it. It says Kyle was here. Oh, we're calling mom. We're telling her we're gonna be late. Mom, we're gonna be late. I was recording. I was really in the mood to record.
Hello?
It's me, Mom. You told me to call?
Where are you?
Movie Palace.
I could really use your help. Dad keeps adding people to the guest list for his party tonight.
Ooh, I'm returning my rental.
And you know he's not the most helpful in these situations. So, can you come home?
Uh-oh.
Now?
I'm at the movie palace, remember? My rental's due.
Right. So, you'll be home soon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know Dad's work shindig isn't exactly what a girl your age wants to be doing. And don't get mad at me for saying this. Why don't you bring a friend?
Bring a friend?
Or maybe even a date?
A date?
There won't be anyone else your age, so it might be nice. Oh!
A date?
Maybe the Johnsons will bring their son. Jason, was it?
What?
Oh,
I don't want to be with Jason.
Nice boy.
Jason's gross.
Very polite.
He don't brush his teeth.
He was already an Eagle Scout at 15.
Snowy's my date.
Yeah, I'm bringing
Very
Snowy.
Funny.
What?
I do wish you'd put yourself out there a little more.
What?
But
What type of mom are you?
I was just like you when I was your age.
What's wrong with me being in my
Stubborn.
film?
You'll grow out of it. Just like I did. Now, get going. And please get back in time to help with the party.
All right. Love you, Mom.
Love you, Mom.
Oh, something's burning. Bye. Love you, honey.
Oh my goodness, Mom. You're like the fucking worst. Jerk off is crazy. Oh, wait. Let's look at these flyers. Okay, let's see. Community garage sale. The Velvet Coves Anglers Association Community Garage Sale. Cheap prices for used tools, fishing gear, camping equipment, books, small appliances, clothing, and more. Follow the balloons and find us on Saturday the 15th of July from 8 a.m. in front of the Movie Palace. Okay. Interesting. Oh, we got another flyer. Poster. Velvet Cove's 4th of July celebration. Food, craft, music, fireworks after dark. Opens at 1:30 p.m. All activities are free except for food and drinks. Oh, okay. That's cute. Wait, I didn't miss anything upstairs on the thing, right? Guys, we gotta check. I gotta make sure, like, I'm low-key really into collecting all of the memoirs, so I'm gonna try my best. Like, I realize that I might have skipped some memoirs, but I'm never letting that happen ever again. Can I skip this part? I know it's supposed to be, like, you know, cinematic and beautiful and all that jazz, but I gotta go. I don't got time nor effort. What is this? Oh my goodness. Look at that. I was gonna move this. I was gonna miss that. Okay, there we go. We got that. Movie Palace. Okay, let's see if we can find anything else. Graffiti. I think we already got the graffiti. Anything else? Scenic views. Let's see what else. Oh, I never like really recorded this. Did I? Did I? I guess I did. Whereas I almost missed that. That would have been terrible. I would have been so sad.
Okay, so it wasn't a real question. Was it right?
I bet I can guess what they're saying.
Babe, are my boobs tanning evenly?
Babe, are my boobs tanning evenly?
Oh, this is cute.
It's not a bike. It's a chopper, baby.
That's
I can
cute.
read them like an open book.
I'm dead. Ooh, let me get her too. Let me get her too. There we go. This is why we
Know
don't
your
need a
top is in the
relationship,
way.
Mom.
Gotta take it off to get an even tan, hey.
Hey! Hey! We ain't taking our chops. Here, I got them. Welcome in, Raiders! Hello, hello, hello. I'm Ayumii. Welcome to my Cloud Kingdom where the sky's not the limit. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. Hi, Squishy! Thank you so much for giving Squishy a shout out, Yuri-chan. How was your stream? What were you guys doing? Hey, Ayumii, I hope your stream is going well. Yeah, we're having a great time. I am a film nerd, okay? I am film nerding it up. And I am in the biz. Right? Imagine a world where all you can see is Ayumii filming everything. If that makes any fucking sense. Okay, so movie palace. I think I got everything. I think I'm gonna be satisfied with everything that we have. I think I'm satisfied with everything that we have. Okay, we are currently just like recording stuff. We made sure to get this too, right? Yeah, this is under graffiti. Yeah, we got graffiti. All right, we're gonna go back down. I'm so glad I got that thing because I was like, bro, I'm so glad I came back up here to double check. I don't know if you remember me, but I'm a friend of Libby's. Yes, I do remember you. But yeah, what's up? I'm glad your stream is going. Oh my god, the lizard wizard. Soul Calibur. Is that 6 or is that, what is that? Is that, I'm just gonna have my camera out all the time. It seems like the best way to live is just to have the camera out. Oh, wait, there we go. I don't think I ever got the critters.
Oh,
there we go.
Empire of the Ants.
Empire of the Ants. Oh, there's something back there that I can film. Okay. I already got the scenic view. Are they still back there? I hope not. Oh, wait, there's stuff I can film. What is this?
Seriously? Why would anyone want to film me?
I'm so sorry.
You look cool on camera. Really? Okay. You say so.
Oh my god, I'm recording her.
Movie star? Hello? What about music? I have to see how you look in a cone bra.
I'm dead.
I don't like this girl.
Imagine me missing all this content right here. Imagine me missing all this content right here, bro. Imagine.
You want a performance?
Romeo.
Hi. Come on by the Uber Scooper for
My own recipe
dead.
Tom now. Guess this gives me time to steal more brownies.
What light through yonder window breaks?
Find us
They're
right on the corner
cute.
of Main Street in Franklin, next to the movie palace.
Hold on, wait, I'm like,
Come beat the heat at The
Am I
Uber
crouched?
Scooper.
Oh, why am I on the ground? What is going on with me? Ooh, what's going on? Oh wait, no, put the camera out. Girl, put the camera out. What's that? Oh, there we go. No, there's like something here that's not registering. What are these? Oh, okay. Hold on, let me zoom out and then we're gonna record this. There we go, graffiti! The Gray Gang. Ooh, love the penny. Love the penis. Okay, buddy. All right, buddy.
She'll never know
Love the penis.
And I'll take all chips too while I'm at it.
Oh my god. No, don't take my chips. Can't you see I'm in the groove recording? Oh, what's in there? Critters. Oh, I already got that frog. Okay. That frog already got captured. This already got captured.
If you're
Alright.
gonna keep filming me, you should pay me.
Hey,
I
you!
accept legal U.S. tender and chocolate.
Hey, you.
How about lollipops? Listen, if it's sugar, I'm good.
I'm dead. Yeah, let me get a better angle of you, girl. Good enough. Alright, let's see. Moving Palace. Ooh, what's that? Did I get this? Ooh. There we go.
I could take more shots to choose from for the edit.
Okay. Bird. Movie. I'm just trying to make sure everything I'm filming, like, it's important. Okay, gamers? I gotta make sure I got everything. All right, let's do a little TV, movie palace. I can't believe they just let me film them. They just like let me film them. That's cool. They're still here? What the fuck are you guys doing? I'm in the bush. They can't see me. I'm in the bush. They can't see me.
Where was this girl and her camera when I landed a perfect kickflip the other day?
I'm dead.
Whoa. I'd love to film that. Please. That would be epic.
What's this? Ooh, a critter. A snail. What? This is why it's important to look around, guys. You would have... I imagine you were going for a complete thing and they kept telling you to go home, leave this place. You would have missed all of this. But you know what? It's all right. I don't care if I'm late. Hold on, let's get out of here. We gotta go. We're gonna go through the fence. All right, it's time for us to go for real now.
Oh, cool. I'll just film that before I go.
Ooh.
Wonder where it came from.
Hey! Stop that! What the hell? What are you doing?
Uh-oh.
What the...
Who? Me?
Yeah, you. What are you, some kind of creep?
Eh?
What?
Oh.
Weren't you just recording me?
No!
Weirdo.
I mean, I did record you, but not just now.
I saw you pointing that thing straight at me. I'm not an idiot.
But I wasn't filming you.
I wasn't just now.
Don't play dumb.
Promise.
Give me that camera. Now.
Yeah, back the fuck away from me, bro. Get
Are
away.
you some kind of lesbo pervert?
What?
No. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. It was an accident.
Really? You know what? You're so fucking lame. Get out of here, loser.
What?
You're just gonna stand there?
You know what?
Filmer. Yeah. See, you talking all that crap.
I really wasn't filming you before.
But
What I
now
do
I'm gonna
now-
film you. Yeah.
Say cheese.
Say cheese,
Seriously?
bitch.
You're so annoying.
Yeah. Say cheese. Oh, why am I on the
Shouldn't have
ground?
come over here in the first place. I knew you were trouble.
Why am I on the ground, brother? Uh-oh, who's that? Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
What are you doing?
Corey!
We got a problem here.
Brother, ain't nobody
She's
got no problem with
harassing
you.
me.
What? What the fuck did you do, kid?
You started it.
You started it.
Bullshit.
Ooh,
Nah, we can go.
Total
We can go. What's your name? Dylan? We can go, Dylan.
All right. I gotta see this.
Ain't no way you come up in here, you talking about you gotta see this. What is wrong with you? I'm gonna beat up your girlfriend, not gonna
Seriously,
lie.
Corey. She taped me with that thing.
Whoa. Nice camera.
Corey, come on.
Hey. You know, it's kind of hot when you're all worked up like this.
What? Weird.
Stop. Can I get by? I gotta go home.
Yeah, let me go home.
We're not done here.
Girl,
Aren't you gonna tell her off?
I didn't even see what happened, babe.
She harassed me. And you're really gonna just let her get away with it?
All right, you know what? I'm
No,
a
it's
apologize.
just some girl. If this was some wacko dude, then
I'm sorry. I did film her, but it was a misunderstanding at first. There was this balloon.
Then why were you pointing it at me?
What? I just said the balloon.
because you're hot.
No, she's not. What is going on? Why are you being so weird right now?
I gotta go to work.
Wait.
She's gotta go strip at the stripper pole. Yeah.
I want a video of me and my sweet, sweet baby here.
Me?
What?
What?
Of my bike.
What?
Duh. Yeah.
What is going on? Letting
Yeah.
them fight it out would be funny, but I don't want to. I don't want my swan to be like that, you know? I want my swan to
I
be...
might even pay if it's good.
Oh, okay.
Come
Wait, hold on.
Won't take long.
Okay, fine. You know what?
Fine.
Sure.
But then I'm leaving.
Okay.
Okay. Ready? Action!
Okay, well just hurry up.
Just
Okay.
relax. Babe, this'll only take a minute.
Really?
You're done.
Come on, babe. I bet this is like the longest conversation this girl's ever had with a guy.
What?
You're so right.
So, huh? All look good?
You look
Ew, you're kind of gross, brother.
Zoom in. Zoom in on this new Chrome.
Ew.
Keep filming. Hey, keep going. Freak.
Freak?
You stop when I tell you to.
What?
TikTok, Corey.
Just hold on. She's not done.
No.
That's a good girl.
What the fuck?
Leave her alone, loser.
What? You're friends with this fat
You're
chick?
supposed to be home,
So
Kat.
what?
Mom and Dad would go ballistic if they knew.
You gonna snitch? Cause I could tell them some things too.
Listen to me.
Make me.
Hey, show your sister some respect.
Fuck off. And
Whoa.
leave this girl alone.
Hey,
Language.
Whatever.
This cat?
Come on. Let's get out of here.
so
Don't
fast.
touch me, creep.
Jesus.
Kat, stop it. Corey.
That's not cool.
Stay out of this.
Excuse me?
Oh.
We should go, Autumn. What's going on?
It's fine, Corey. I'll tell my parents what happened.
Yeah, tell your parents what
hello?
happened.
Think
Fucking
they heard you.
Don't go too easy on her.
Respect this.
Oh, dummy,
You girls wanna come with us? We're going to the movies. Oh, good idea. We're so late. Let's go. Sounds fun.
Mom's gonna be pissed off, Kat. You know how she gets.
Fuck those guys.
I love movies. You sure I can come?
It's
Of
fine.
course you can.
Seriously.
Why'd you even come out here in the first place? Are you, like, stalking me or something?
You fucking wish. And it's none of your business.
Hey.
I'm your sister. Your business is my business.
That's right.
Really? I thought your business was sucking dick.
Oh!
Shit.
Ooh.
What? Dude, what's gotten into you?
Laugh at that.
Corey,
Yeah?
my shift starts in 10.
She's a
Fine.
dick sucker.
We'll go. But first, let's get some ice cream.
What?
My treat.
Ain't nobody
No,
giving you.
thanks. I don't want anything.
Yeah, you do. I know you.
Fine. So I'll home.
Why she listening to him like a bottom
You
bitch?
heard the lady?
I can't. It's closed.
We're closed, dumbass.
Bitch.
Oh!
Hey, give them back.
I'm
Stop.
sick of this shit. Go. Fetch.
What a fucking asshole! Nah, let's kick his bike. Kick
Get
his
on
fucking bike over. No, push him over. Push him over.
What the fuck? Hey,
Yo, he's such a fucking
Go home,
douche.
cat. Or I'm telling Dad.
you guys are so dead.
She got me on tape. Now I'm immortal. Fucking fatso.
Yo.
Stay away from my girlfriend from now on. Got it?
Ain't nobody with your girlfriend, bro. What the fuck? Coming soon, Dumber and...
Fuck you, Corey! Fuck you!
Why did we kick his bike over? What the fuck? Ain't no way we're letting that shit slide. Damn, she thought about that in the bathroom? That's heavy. What? That's fucking heavy, bro. Where's my camera? Not me right-clicking thinking my camera's gonna pop out. What the fuck? I forgot all about Dumb and Dumber. The fact that it zoomed in on Dumb and Dumber was so fucking funny. Oh, okay, you see that little light at the booth over there? That's where we gotta go. That is where Autumn's at. There's
Thanks,
Gus.
brother. Evening, ma'am.
Hello.
Oh. Hello.
When people call you ma'am and you still feel like you're younger than. Oh,
Get
my
over
God.
here. Fast forward to when we all get to leave Velvet Cove for good.
I know. I still can't believe Swan's getting out of here before us. So jealous.
Sorry.
Well, now I know who is who. So Nora and Autumn are. This is Autumn. Who I'm playing as is Swan. And the girl who initially saved us was, you know,
it's
Cat.
You. Yep. Wow. It's me. This
Hi.
is wild.
Oh my gosh, she got gray hairs, bro.
Look at you. Swan Holloway. You look exactly the same.
Still chubby and awkward then? Nah, we're gonna say thanks and you look great.
Thanks, you too.
Damn, are we flirting right now? Listen, okay?
Oh, you're
Listen.
such a liar, but I'll let it slide. No,
Aww.
really, you do. You didn't tell anyone you'd be here, right? No, no way. Good.
Wait, what is going on?
Listen, I know we're practically like strangers now. Before you say anything, I gotta put this out there. Please just hear me out.
We're not strangers, though, Autumn.
Please, Swan.
I mean, I know it's
let
been
me
years,
finish.
but sorry.
We
Oh,
can't
no.
be afraid to dig up some painful memories tonight.
What happened?
We can't afford to avoid the truth. Just don't hold anything back tonight. Please.
I hear you.
So, you think you're ready to talk about that summer?
I'm ready to face whatever we dig up.
I've been nervous about tonight, too. But I think I'm ready to face whatever we dig
I'm
up.
ready to face
Good.
it.
Just recently, I've been having all these flashbacks.
Really? Wait, me too.
Me too. I've been remembering things ever since you called.
I have this bad feeling. Like, did I actually forget something important?
What happened? Like, what really happened? Yo, I'm so invested, bro.
Did it go this way? I thought so.
Oh, they're looking for the key.
Don't
That
know.
fucking asshat threw it. What a bitch, man. Oh my gosh, she's smoking. No, Nora, no! L smoker! L!
Want to smoke?
No.
Nah, I can't chill right now. Not until I find those stupid keys.
Corey's gonna pay. He gets away with everything.
Literally.
That guy is scary.
He's crazy. I see Corey around here a lot. Usually, he seems harmless.
He's not.
Yeah, he's more of a dick than I thought. I can't believe he did that.
I can.
What the fuck does your sister see in that guy?
No,
Seriously,
truly, like, what is
Dawn?
going? Nah, she's probably.
Who knows?
She's got low self-esteem or
She's
something.
an idiot.
She.
And you're Catherine?
She's an idiot.
Nora.
I'm Autumn.
Cool.
Cool. Nice to meet you. Cool.
Cool.
Cool. They're cute.
What? You don't want to tell us your name?
No. I mean,
She's
yes.
a little awkward. She's so cute. I'm Swan, like the bird.
I'm Swan, like the bird, but with an extra N at the end.
Swans are pretty.
Damn, you saying I'm not pretty?
This so wasn't part of the plan tonight.
Damn, they look like they've been looking for hours.
Sucks.
He was supposed to be home
Thanks
by
for
now.
helping out. You're amazing.
Ooh.
It felt like fate.
Yeah. I think so. Back then, I didn't believe in stuff like that.
Wow. Okay, so let's look around.
So much for the movies.
More like so much for my job.
Stupid Corey. You didn't have to throw away your keys. I'm so sorry, Autumn.
Thanks. What?
B, you are still on my phone. I had a HDD that had Linux on it and I was like, this will work, but no, what, I forgot my password. So you get my pain. Hi 3.145926. Love ya.
Love ya. Oh my goodness. Oh no, your phone. I wish you good luck on your PC, Valamore. Much love. Mwah. Sorry, I'm skimming over chat and I'm not reading out loud because there's like so much cinematic. But don't worry, like I reading what you guys are saying.
Yeah, what are you making, Swan?
Oh, I'm making a
Porn.
memoir.
I'm making like kind of a Velvet Cove memoir.
Yeah, be honest.
That sounds conceited.
No, it sounds cool.
Yeah, I film stuff around town and in the woods.
My dad has one of those things. He got it for Linda.
Who's Linda?
Nora's stepmom.
We
Yeah,
love
she
her
just
stepmom.
had to capture her precious little baby the first time he pooped in the potty.
Hey, yo, I got that Riz. You know what I'm talking about?
Out here, perfect setting for a slasher flick.
Ooh.
Boring.
You should film me instead. Oh,
Ooh.
you could film the sunset.
What else could be cool to film around here?
Oh, I like this. So they give you choices. I kind of want to look at other people's choices.
If I were
wish we
making
could
a
do
movie,
multiple things.
I'd go to LA or New York. Ever been?
I want to talk to
You've
Autumn,
been to
though.
New York? You're into scary movies, Autumn? It would be so fun to film one.
Oh, hell yeah.
So, you guys into music? Autumn and I have a band.
A band?
We play, like, punk music.
Huh?
We could, like,
Music?
make music for your documentary or something?
Oh my god.
Who's your favorite Riot Girl band?
Wait, what's a Riot Girl band?
I don't know.
Wait, can I film you guys
I thought I
making
was
music?
the only one around here into punk.
Could I maybe film you?
I want to film
Like-
them.
Playing music?
Yes, this needs to happen. Sure.
Oh man, this rules. Hey, we should start our
Ooh.
own Riot Girl scene. Oh my god, do you know Bikini Kill?
They're from, like, Seattle, right?
Yeah. Aren't they so sick? There are these zines too.
you think that was Corey?
No. Corey's got work in the barn tonight. At my dad's ranch.
Oh,
Ugh.
damn.
I'm getting up. Gotta keep looking.
Stay with me, Swan. Almost done with my cigarette. Smoke might look cool on camera.
Okay.
You should quit.
I think we should help him.
Film me.
I really want to hear you guys play sometime.
Sure, I'll film you.
Okay. Rolling shortly.
Nora, you're just wasting time.
You're just jealous.
Please.
And what's with all the hearts? Oh my god. Did I just ruin like a chance with...
I was so pissed at Nora. She always picked the wrong moments to show off.
Do I look good?
You look
really cool.
Ooh.
It'd be awesome in black and white. Like, noir style.
Fuck! Yeah, that's a good idea.
Ooh.
Cigarettes were seen as like fashionable back then. Kind of crazy looking back. I hope she finally quit.
I'm gonna go help Autumn. Listen, I'm not gonna lie, guys. All the other girls are cool, but I'm addicted to Autumn, okay? I think I'm gonna try to romance Autumn.
When did it get so dark out? Sometimes Dean's shift at the movie palace overlapped with mine. So I'd hang out on the swing set on my breaks just to avoid him.
Damn it. Did I fucking look here already?
Alright, let's... Ooh, yes. Let's take a picture of... That's Cat! That's Cat! She looks cute. Alright. Stop recording that. Look at her. She's so serious. Stop for only peace. Forgotten playground. Interesting.
This is hopeless.
Alright, gamers, we're gonna just walk around with the camera.
He'll make a new copy.
Nora always wanted to take the easy way out. Especially when she could pay her way. She meant well, but it was annoying sometimes.
Oh, okay. These already counted as one. Okay. These counted as one. There's Nora. Does this not count as anything? No, I swear it does. It should. Oh, hell no, it doesn't. Oh, look at that. Water tower. Okay. There we go. What about the swings? What about the swings? Can we get the swings? Forgotten playground. Yeah. Let's get the swings. Right. Ooh, we got that. We got these. Hold on, I'm gonna run a little bit. Oh, there we go. Look at my W camera work, okay? Ayumii, do you want to play this? I was looking for a story game that I wanted to play. Oh. What? There was like a voice. Is there something up there?
What's up there? Hey! I think that's them!
I found the keys!
All the way up there!
Oh, what?
I found the keys, yeah.
No way.
Hold on, I'll explain in a minute.
Nora always had a way with words.
I love how fuck was her choice of words.
The soul of a poet.
Mm.
You know, I had this intuition that the four of us were gonna be tight.
Mm. I feel the same, like magnetic
I
pull.
felt that way about you guys too. It was like a magnetic pull,
right? It makes me feel like this meeting here, it's worth the risk.
We could climb it.
No way. That thing looks sketchy as hell.
Yeah, we should just push it.
It might be older than us.
Jiggle it off like vending machine.
I'm trying. Well, we all gotta work. Oh wait, there it is. There it is. There it is. It's sliding. It's sliding.
Let me try.
Watch it.
Okay,
fall.
But it's gonna fall. The whole thing is gonna fall. Wait, no, push it the other way. Oh, of course.
Shit. maybe we can knock the keys off now? Cool. Just gotta find something to throw.
Right.
Not my camera. Enora. Spotlight cat, right? Infinity.
Find anything to throw at it yet? Ugh, no luck. Ugh, nothing around here's light enough to throw high up.
Ooh. I'm starting Autumn's. There we go. That's my first scene of her. Okay, let's look around the playground somewhere. I know we have to look for something, but at the same time, I'm trying to look for, you know, stuff on the playground.
Come look back here with me. Nope. No way. Chicken?
There we go. Alright, we got that. Let's look around some more. Everything with a check mark by the name means that I got it already. Okay, let's see. Ooh. Graffiti. Badger bitch. Alright. Love being called the badger bitch. Did I get that? Love being called the badger bitch. Ooh, look at that graffiti. Ooh, nice. Graffiti.
Sounds like something you would call someone mum.
I would indeed call somebody a badger bitch. Alright, let's see. Alright, we can't progress until I make progress. So, but there's still stuff going on around this playground. So I'm gonna go figure it out. What's this? The slide doesn't count, no way. You're lying. Ooh. Ooh. Oh, I got shoes already. Alright, we got some shoes. Oh, I gotta make sure when I press stuff, I gotta press. Okay, to stop recording is spacebar. To get out.
Shine your light up this tree. I think that could be something.
There you go. What do you got?
Hey, not now.
I'd say Terry's a list of things back Ayumii would call people, but let's be honest, it's more like a book. With sequels.
Hey, yo! Alright, there's nothing up there. Cat? Alright. Let me see. Spotlight on Nora. Yo, Nora's really just standing around, bro. Damn, she's gorgeous. Ooh, what's this?
Should we cover this? The keys could fall right in.
Yeah, I'm gonna figure out how to cover it. Yeah, we're just gonna grab this and... Oh! Well, would you look at that?
This sucks. Everything's broken or too heavy to throw up high.
Yeah, I don't see anything either.
What does that say?
I can't remember it all that well, but we did some reckless
Did you
stuff
graduate
that summer.
yet?
No, I didn't
Knowing
graduate.
what we got into, I'm not sure how parents of teens ever let them out of their sight.
Hey.
Hey. What else are you filming for your movie?
You
Did I
on
look good?
camera.
Tell me. Yes. You looked great.
Oh, shit!
Awesome.
What's happening?
My mom knows a lot of Hollywood directors. You should
Really?
move to LA after school. If you're serious about it.
Ooh.
Autumn
girls
thinks
like-
I'm joking, but I'm moving there as soon as I can. I know the music scene is tough to break into. Someone's gotta make it, right?
You so right.
How about we make our
What
own
mom
movie?
you did what you didn't graduate SMH really
you
more
could play
memory
a
I six
musician.
thighs.
Oh my god, I'll be your muse.
Oh.
Rock film, maybe?
Oh, yes, yes, yes! I bet I could star in action movies.
Hey, yo.
I wouldn't even need a stunt double.
Ooh, okay.
You're a redhead, so I bet they'd cast you in a rom-com. Everyone loves redheads. Do, you have a boyfriend?
Huh? A boyfriend? Gross.
Do I have a boyfriend? No way. All the boys at our school are gross.
That's fair.
They are.
Yeah,
You're
boys
too
are gross.
cute for those losers. guy, I'd kiss you.
You kiss me?
You kiss me? So would.
Nora was horny as hell and wanted everyone to know it.
Sorry. I'm just talking your ear off, as usual. We should probably, like, at least pretend to help.
Hey, yo!
Autumn's gonna be pissed if she catches us slacking off.
Hey, yo!
She's seriously stressing about this key thing.
I don't blame her. That's like her job.
What's that?
Need
What's
a light, Swan. Over here, by the puddle.
Okay, hold on, sweetie. Oh my goodness. Hold on. I was shipping.
My eyes are being tricksy. False alarm.
False alarm.
Thanks, Swan.
You should lollipop. You're
You love looking at me, huh?
I don't even know where else to look. You look cool on camera, Nora.
Thanks.
Oh, this is the next thing about the camera. Okay, I'm gonna go talk to Kat.
Do, Autumn. Please keep looking. It just can't be too heavy. I gotta throw it kind of far.
There we go. They're kind of far, you say? Yes, ma'am. Forgotten playground. Did I record this? Did this get recorded? Why am I crouching? Okay, what else do we have left to record? I love how they're worried about that. And I'm just over here. Oh, birds! An owl! An owl. Yo, my bird memoir is about to go crazy. All right, hold on. Let me help look.
So, what's homeschool like, Kat? Can you
Wait, oh, damn. Where's my camera?
Not really. My mom gets me up early.
No way. If I was homeschooled,
Homeschooled.
I would sleep until...
Ooh, what's your favorite subject?
What's your favorite subject, Kat?
English. I
Ooh,
like reading.
that's just like me. Kat is a tough cookie, though.
Nah,
She be standing on business.
the library is pretty much my favorite place.
She truly be standing on business. She was like, fuck you. Flip them off with 2 middle fingers. She's so badass for that. She was like, if I was a guy, I'd kiss you. Dang. A band-aid. Oh, what happened? Oh my goodness. Hold on, guys. Oh my goodness. Hold on. I gotta pause the game. Wait a second. Here's some music. You got it? Oh, okay. Keep leading. Oh, okay. Oh, never mind. Sorry. Never mind. We're good. We're good. Damn. This game is actually pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. Hold on. Sorry. Kingsy. Alright, sorry. I just had to send a message real quick. $40, it better be good. I'm dead. I love how weak for the flirting are you? No, because it was just the slightest bit of flirting. And, and I was like, I was sold. I've been for Autumn since the game started, and then as soon as Nora started flirting with me, I was like, oh. The real horny one was Ayumii all along. It wasn't Nora, it wasn't Autumn, it wasn't Swan, it wasn't even Kat. It was me. Alright, let's go back. There's one more thing I'm supposed to record for the playground, and I am not finding it. There's a bike right here. Yo, we totally, for real, should have kicked that bitch's bike. Like, I'm not even joking. Why did we not kick that bitch's bike? Can I talk to Kat? Oh, it won't even give me the option to talk to
Yeah,
Kat.
tell us something we don't know, sus Yumi.
I'm dead. Let me see. Can I record the... What else can I record in this playground? Oh, was this recorded? Can I record this? Can I record the seesaw? Forgotten playground? Oh, did I get everything?
Hey, I think I see some stuff back here. Swan, you wanna come here?
Oh, sure. Hi. Oh, sorry. I'll keep
Autumn, do you think I should change my hair again?
Ooh. Let's go.
What's behind that? I was thinking we should check back there. Good idea.
Okay, let's
come
go
with. Buddy system?
Hell yeah.
After you. Here goes.
Buddy system.
Whoa. Can hardly see. Need my light? Yeah, I'm so not trying to step on a rusty nail back here.
Oh dear. I'm terrified. What if one of those things start moving?
Shine your light on ahead? Dude, if I lose my job over this? I wish I could have stopped him. Seriously. Me too. He was just so fast. You know, that did make me feel better. Knowing that you'd stick up for me.
Of course.
Given the
Oh
chance.
my god. Sorry guys, we got some nice tits, as you can clearly see. Nice tits.
Do you really gotta put this in your documentary?
I'm sorry.
Like, having a hard time here. It can't be fun to watch.
Aw, but I like filming you.
I like filming you. And this place is interesting. Thanks, but let's do it another time.
Oh, we have other times.
Whoa. Check this out.
Dookie, 420 smoke. 420 smoke. Hold on, what that says? I fucked Slick Willie in the ass. Okay, buddy. Wait, what? What was that? It's watching us. What's watching us? Wait, what the fuck is happening? What's going on with my camera, bro? What's going on? Yo. Oh my god. Hold on, let me take that off. What's going on? He's watching us.
That gave me the creeps. I was playing it cool, but to be honest, I was so glad you came with me. It was safe enough looking back, but I never liked being alone.
Aww. I'll never let you be alone, Autumn. Okay, let's go through here. Let's go through here. Damn. Look at all these bugs.
Wait up!
Come on, we gotta go look. What's over here?
Oh shit. It's like someone's stuff.
This doesn't seem safe.
People live back here?
This doesn't seem safe. Should we go back?
It's okay. I don't think anyone's around. Let's just be quick. I felt bad looking through all of their stuff. We were kids. We didn't know better.
We truly did not. Peace, love, and drugs. You know what? Stand on business.
Fuck.
You okay?
You okay, Autumn? No. But I will be.
Okay, you know what? We're gonna get out of here as quick as I can. I'm like literally, Emily's a fucking cunt bitch loser. Who's Emily, bro?
90s labels were so extra. Like, y'all didn't have to use all the colors at once.
I'm weak.
I kind of miss it, though. Everything is so boring and tasteful now.
Everything is so boring and tasteful. It's crazy. There's some bottles here.
There's some bottles over here.
I could throw one of those.
Oh no, they got my boy Rand. They got my boy Brandon. Rest in peace, Brandon. You will be remembered. Velvet Clove is a shithole. I get it. You know, sometimes a place is not for you. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so we can get a brick. Wait, let me check in here real quick before this.
There's so much crap around here.
Right, there's a tape. Yeah, I couldn't.
Oh, I can never sleep like this. I would be too scared to fall asleep. My dad said the homeless here have it really hard, especially in the winter. I should
welcome in,
probably tell him about
Raiders.
this.
Na 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 na. I got a duck. Hi, Shifter. Hi, Moonly. Welcome in. Hello, hello, hello. My name's Ayumii. Welcome to my cloud kingdom where the sky is not the limit. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. We are currently playing Lost Records Bloomin' Rage. Can I get a shout out from Moonly, please? I'm gonna give you guys a squeak. Jail, no! No! Oh, they must have a dog.
They must have a dog.
Well, I hope your stream was good. Hi, Ayu. Hi, Moonly. I love cats.
I love cats. My cat. He's a menace, but I love him. Oh yeah? I never had one, but my grandma does. She's tiny, but she straight up toppled Graham's Christmas tree last December.
That's crazy. Oh my goodness. Oh my god, we played with D-Bones and Shifter in Overwatch, Dead by Daylight, and Fortnite. Oh, hell yeah. Oh my god, I'm glad you guys got able to play. That sounds so cute. Yeah, that was creepy. I don't know what the fuck they did. Okay, we gotta call it. We gotta record that shit for content. Creepy ass dolls sitting there. Terrible toys. What about this one? Can I record that one? No? Alright. I was feeling, you know, oh my god, there's a condom.
Nothing over here.
Nothing over here. Okay, let me actually go into the tent.
I've never met an unhoused person back then.
Oh my god, Iron Veil, extra large. Nah, you lying. You was not no extra large. Go get the small. Don't you lie to me.
These days.
Not the element fail. You're done, D-Bones. I'm weak. Those dolls are nightmare fuel. Lurk, gonna settle down and chill for bedtime. Have a good stream. Thank you. Yes, if anybody else has to go and run and just, like, you know, go wind down, don't mind me. I'm gonna be here. We're gonna be wandering around looking at a bunch of crap. Thank you so much for raiding, Moonly. Love you, love you. The gray gang eats the sand from the worm gut. It is in this book and in my brain. Property of Fred. All right, buddy. You know what? You could keep that all to yourself. Ain't nobody want to read your book. All right? Keep that all to your lonesome. Ain't nobody want to read your goddamn book. That, what did he say? Something about brain? Oh, wait, no, this is weird. Nah, what's going on with this graffiti? This is not graffiti. That's a motherfucking curse.
You know what sucks?
We'll eat
my
for
ex.
Food.
He works at the movie palace. He's
Your
actually
strength?
friends with Corey, and they hang out up on the roof there a lot.
Oh, your ex.
I know I'm gonna run into him.
Oh, well, you know what? We're not gonna worry about that guy. Can't you just quit the scoper? That sucks. I hope he leaves you
that
alone.
Sucks. I hope he leaves you alone.
Yeah, he needs to leave you alone. That's my girl. Right? Hope Haven. Interesting. Don't you guys think I'm like a W cameraman? Alright, we're gonna pick up this brick and we're gonna hope for the best.
How about this?
Oh, the colors are scary.
Yes. Score.
It took me like 17 ages to
Why
get that.
did the brick go to the bar?
Why? I'm not too smart.
No idea. To get plastered.
Oh my god.
That's so bad. You laughed. All right. To the keys.
Yay! We had a alone time with Autumn. W cameraman, oh thank you. Alright, let's get out of here. Let's skedoodle. I think I've recorded enough. I recorded about everything.
I'm so stressed. I gotta chill.
Wait, why?
But I don't want to upset my mom. It's my first real job, and now, of course, something like this has to happen. Would a hug help? I was so awkward.
Nah, that was sweet. I was a bit too shy to it, though.
Aw. What's that noise? Huh?
Jesus.
Oh!
What was that?
Oh, it's a goddamn serial killer.
I thought someone might be following us.
Serial killer?
It's a goddamn serial killer.
Not funny.
It's a goddamn serial killer. Oh shit, that scared the fuck out of me. My heart. I'm trying to get the fuck out of here. Hold on a second. Let me get the fuck out of here. We got a skedoodle. Let's get out of here. Let's get out of here, queen. Come on, let's go. Let's go, queen. Let's go. Let's get out of here. Holy shit. I didn't see the wet dog coming here. I'm weak. The wet dog.
Hey, come here. We found this.
We found a brick.
I'll throw it. Okay.
Time
Yes,
for
ma'am.
target practice. Pew, pew, pew.
Everyone move it.
Oh, shoot. Yeah, please
Give
don't
me a
hit me.
clear shot.
Ooh.
Pretend it's Corey's face.
Or you bet. Target locked.
Let's go. Break Corey's face. Break it in two. Wait, hold on.
I need your
recording.
eyes. If the keys fall, watch where they go.
But I need my eyes.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll pluck them out. Just for you.
No.
I'm dead.
Yum.
Here goes. I can do this.
You can do this.
3,
We believe in you.
There, Swan.
2, 1.
Oh, I thought I had to record that. Okay. Ooh, let's go. Okay. At the same time, that is going to fall. Please, for the love of God, move.
Look out!
Oh my God. Jeez.
Wow.
Damn.
That
Oops.
was awesome.
So Pete. Look at that
Jeez,
thing.
OP. What is she saying?
Don't mess with Autumn.
Just glad we got him.
Fucking
Thank
Corey.
goodness.
You guys did me a solid. I was really freaking out. Of course.
No problem.
Mm-hmm.
Anything for you, princess.
Aww.
Whatever. Let's bounce.
That's so cute. I think there's one more thing I didn't get on the
have
playground,
to. My
but I think we're
mom's
gonna be back.
Gonna kill me.
My mom's gonna kill me too. I was supposed to go help dad, but that's okay. It's movie time with the girls.
Hey, careful.
No, we're riding this rocket ship out of here. Fuck Corey.
Get over here.
Jeez.
Ooh.
Wonder if that rocket's still there. Could be.
Imagine. This is so sweet.
Hey, you guys should come to our next rehearsal.
Band practice?
Yeah. Let's go.
Cat, you in?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
We need an audience.
Yeah. It'd be cool to see each other again.
Ooh, I'm gonna romance all of them. I don't know how I'm gonna do it, but we gonna figure it out. I'm gonna end up with Autumn. So this was gonna happen. I'm gonna go through cycles of relationships. I'm gonna start with Nora, go with Kat, and in between all of them, I'm gonna have Autumn, and then at the end, I'm gonna marry Autumn. Like, what do we think? Tape 1, Bloom. That was tape 1. Was that all? Was that everything?
It's... one sec.
Okay.
It's my boss.
You should just work for me. I'll take care of you for the rest of your life.
Like I was saying, that day we met, we had no idea what we were in for.
I love it. I love how cinematic this is. It's like a movie.
Sorry for texting. I just can't leave him hanging.
That's okay. Are you seeing other men, Autumn? It's okay, really.
It's okay, really. Thanks.
You see, you gotta get
I'll
all the
stress
hearts.
If I ignore this.
Also, hi,
I'd
Tim.
rather be
Welcome
catching up
in.
with you. But my boss needs me to put out his fires, as usual.
You know what? That's fair. Yeah, that's common. Common shit. Ooh, ooh. Hold on, let's see. Hello.
Hello from the future.
The nachos are a trap.
Don't mind me. Just reading some of these scribbles.
Ooh, hold on. Let me look around at everything.
I'm glad they don't scrub them off.
Yeah, it's kind of reminiscent, isn't it?
Cute keychain.
It's so cute. It's like a little alien.
Thanks. That keychain was on my old set. The one you helped me find.
Oh. Ooh, how was the tribe? It's so cool.
It's so cool that you've held on to something from way back then.
Mm-hmm.
Guess just a bit sentimental.
Oh my goodness. How was the drive? Or now we're gonna do some.
Was your drive? Just fine. The views are nice once you get off the highway.
It's weird doing that. Now we're doing like the small talk.
Being back here.
Where's the juicy details?
Once I gave my mom a grandkid, I made her come to me. Can't say I miss this place at all.
Once I gave my mom a grandkid. You have a child? Listen, MILFs are okay too in my book. Let's examine the gum. Ooh, there's one. Why would I want to read this? Can I read this? Berry flavor? Find your flavor. They saying it's berry, raspberry, but then they're telling me to find my flavor. I don't think that's okay. I don't think that's right, man. Ooh, okay. I think I did everything. So I'm gonna go get us some drinks, baby girl.
Want a drink? I've got it. Yeah. Thanks. That'd be great.
Ooh.
Whatever you think's good. I'll get next round.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna get the first drink, and then she'll get the next one. What do you think would be her favorite? Ooh, a skateboard. Oh wait, no. This is not the end of tape 1. This is the
Can you
start.
state your name and your age into the camera?
Wait. What's all this for? Anyways,
we're making a memoir.
Making a documentary.
Oh, a documentary.
I'm Autumn Lockhart. I turned 16 last October. And I'm an army brat.
Ooh.
Me and my folks moved here a few years ago. Sorry, are you rolling?
Ooh. How do you kill time? What makes you happy?
What makes you happy?
Skateboard? Sleep? Drink pop? Oh, I love video games. I'm saving up for this new fighting one. I crush Nora every time.
Let's go. Yeah, down with Nora. Down. Listen.
Am I doing okay?
I'm on Autumn's side, okay? While we're dating Autumn, I'm on Autumn's side. While we're dating Nora, I'm on Nora's side, okay? That's just how it's gonna go. You look so good on camera.
Anyone ever tell you that you look great on camera?
What? No way.
I'm the Rizzler. You're so pretty.
You're so pretty. I could totally picture you on the cover of, like, Elle or something.
Let's go! Rizzler! We're rizzing them up one by one.
Dad let me take a sip of his beer one time. Never tried it before. And Mom let me try a sip of her rum and Coke. Way better.
Oh, so that's what we're gonna get her.
Pick beer over that.
Yeah? Okay, we're gonna get her some rum and Coke.
That was when we were living in Germany.
Oh, so she was living in Germany.
My dad was stationed there for a couple years. I miss it. Still keep in touch with one friend though.
Ooh. Who's this?
He taught me how to skateboard. Drops me a postcard sometimes.
Who's this friend?
Dominic. He's into punk music too. And his dad's also in the service. We were really tight.
Oh, okay.
I think Nora gets jealous whenever I talk about him.
Oh. Because replacing Nora's
the first person
with
who
Dominic.
really tried to get to know me. We're both kind of social outcasts, I guess.
Oh, okay. So how did you meet Nora?
You've been friends with Nora a long time? How'd you meet?
In real years, 4.
but it feels more like dog years.
Wow, you guys been friends for 4 years?
We met in detention.
In
It
detention?
was a Monday. By Friday, I was like living in her garage.
That is really cute. Is she like
I
a
wouldn't
sister?
survive in this shithole without her.
Aww.
I'd like die of boredom. Is she like a sister to
I'm
you?
picking all the W choices, guys. All the W choices.
Yeah, kinda.
Ooh, this is a nice shot.
Nora keeps talking about moving to LA, but please, we're so not gonna be rock stars.
No, you guys should try it.
Maybe if I was singing lead. Nah, I'm just playing.
What's your wildest dream then?
What's your wildest dream?
Your wildest dream.
We're going there already?
Yeah, I want to know everything.
Keeping it real. I know I'm not gonna be rich and famous.
Oh, wait, why?
I want to do something that matters.
Oh.
And I hope we stay friends through it all, too. You know?
I would so love that. Oh my goodness.
Happy hour prices can only be set using PLUs. The PLU.
All right, Gus, I'm back. I'm here for the rum and coke, please. Hi.
But if that's the first of
Gus. Ooh, I can eat some
the
peanuts.
MGR key.
Gross.
She also hates peanuts. I knew Swan was meant mean Swan.
Where's their key? Enter the manager passcode.
Crossroads ginger ale. Okay.
I didn't set a passcode yet.
I would like to get some rum and coke for. Excuse me.
I'm ready to order.
I'll be right with you.
Right with me? How long is that gonna be? Are you gonna be like right with me, or are you gonna be like right with me? You know, like I'm saying, like, are you gonna be like right with me, like right away, like right now? Or are you gonna be like, okay, after whatever you're doing, you're gonna be right with me after right that?
Hey.
Okay, so right after you were doing whichever
Look,
you're doing.
I'm sorry about
Why
that.
did you not go to me quickly?
I'm really bad with computers.
Oh, that's okay.
So, how's your little reunion going?
It's going great.
Living the good old days?
Yeah, I'm actually very happy to see her.
I'm happy to see her. We have a lot to catch up on.
My nose is
Glad
so
to have
stuffy.
you both back, even if it's just for a visit.
Aw.
So,
He looks like he
what'll it
knows
be?
something. All right, we're gonna be
Let's
having
see. I'll
whiskey
get my friend's drink too.
Happy hour goes till 9.
till 9. What time is it now? So she'd like a rum
But
and coke.
someone always tries to order one of the specials at 9:05.
Listen, it's tough out here
How
in these
about
streets.
rum and coke? Used to be her favorite.
And for you?
And for me,
Our drink specials are on the boards. I'll let you take a look.
I'll try a frostbite cocktail.
I'm
or
good at guessing people's orders. You're
handcrafted.
past the vodka cranberry stage,
Okay, okay.
but
so-
something about you doesn't say wine mom either, so gin and tonic?
Gin and tonic. Oh, a gin and tonic's perfect.
You know what? A gin and tonic sounds perfect.
Let's
What can I
get it.
say? It's a gift.
Ooh, that's why you gotta
I'll
be
get
patient.
started on those drinks.
This is why you gotta
right
listen,
back.
listen. Multiple choices pop up. Like they give you 2 choices to start with, and then they give you another choice as he's continuing talking. You guys gotta be locked in, okay? You can't just be like, you know.
No
Ooh.
way. Are you kidding me?
What?
This song was so popular.
Oh,
Oh, talk about a moment in time.
they're just going through.
Really should get myself a tripod.
They're going through all the memories.
Stop leaning over. Just.
Ooh, I'm so upset that she does not say that she herself looks pretty on camera because she's gorgeous.
Where's that?
Ooh.
Hello, world. I'm Swan. Welcome to.
I thought as the swan
So I
turned
need a title.
was so good.
Okay. Welcome to. As the Swan Turns.
I thought that was
But don't worry,
genius.
my life is not that dramatic. First, I'll show you my natural habitat. Suburbia.
Oh God, no! Mom, I just started my memoir. Pardon my
Pardon
parental
the
units.
interruption from my parental units.
She's
Hopefully
so
that will be the last
quirky.
one.
I love it.
I'll show you around Velvet Cove for sure. But first, I gotta tell you, I met these girls.
Hey,
and I owe
yo!
them big time.
Yeah.
Wait, let me back up and describe them. First, there's Nora. She's gonna be a senior this fall.
Okay, we got Nora. Nora's
We
so
go
pretty.
to the same school, but I'd never talked to her before.
Aw.
Nora's so pretty. I really liked hanging out with her.
Oh my god, she's crushing.
She actually said that if she were a guy, she'd want to kiss me. I don't know, I just keep thinking about that.
Oh my god! She's thinking about it.
There's Autumn. She's Nora's best friend. She's in my grade at school too.
Autumn's so cool. I feel drawn to Autumn.
We never met before this.
Listen.
I feel
I'm gonna make her romance
drawn
every
to
character.
She's so cool. Like,
Ooh.
I just need to know more about her, you know?
Ooh.
The bully stole her keys. She was so upset.
Okay.
I tried to comfort her.
Thank you for the follow. Hi, Ninja
Wanted to make
Beanie.
her feel better.
I hope you're having a wonderful evening. I'm Ayumii. Welcome to my Cloud Kingdom.
Kat.
Mm-hmm.
She's my age, but homeschooled.
Kat is the only one I didn't get to romance
never
in
met
that
before
segment.
either.
Kat's really passionate, sort of a show off. She's really smart. I'm gonna say she's really smart because I didn't get to romance her yet.
Kat seems really smart. She knows a lot about music. She stood up for me. That meant a lot.
Oh, you know what? We don't need romance. She stood up for
To
me.
her sister.
Hello, my evening is well. Lovely to meet you. Oh, that's so cute. Welcome in. Welcome. That's so glad to hear.
I guess you have to.
I'm currently trying to romance them all. I don't know if it's possible, but I'm gonna try my best.
There's me.
The best girl around. I'm usually the side girl. I'm your typical nerd.
About
You know what?
Swan.
I don't know who I am yet.
Who is Swan?
You're finding yourself, baby girl. We're not gonna insult you. We're not
Maybe
gonna
I'll
put you
figure it out
down.
when I finish making
You're
this.
shy because you don't know
That'd be
yourself
cool.
so much, you know? Yeah.
I hope we can hang out a lot
I
when
love
I'm still
that.
here. I'm moving away at the end of summer, so
Aw, I hope we stay
I have
friends.
so much stuff to pack. I hope we stay friends. I like them a lot.
Well, obviously we could tell from the future
just
they
hope
don't
I
stay
don't mess
friends,
things
but
up somehow. Anyway, we're meeting up tomorrow.
okay. Oh, right away.
Here you go.
Thanks. How much?
Damn,
$11.
Gusty Fury. All right, hey, keep the change. Pay now.
Here, keep the change.
Thanks.
How much did I give him?
Oh, there she is. Pam, this girl grew up here in Velvet Cove.
Who's that?
No way. What's your name, dear?
Oh,
Swan?
jeez. I didn't even ask her name yet.
Not that I didn't ask her name.
Oh, come on, Gus. Where's your manners, you old dog?
Hello, Pam. I'm Swan.
Hi. I'm Swan.
I'm such a kind girl.
Swan.
I'm meeting everybody. Look at
I'm
him. He's
Pam.
smiling at me.
Her friend's from here, too. The young lady in the booth.
Yeah. We're not that young.
Oh?
They're having
Yeah.
a little reunion. Isn't that awesome?
Yeah, it is. I'm here with my friend
here
Autumn.
with my friend, Autumn.
Oh.
Not me outing our
She
whole
looks
location.
so familiar. So, you're catching up with Autumn, I take it?
Yeah?
I am.
You picked the right place for conversation.
Ooh,
Gus
thank you.
runs a good shop.
Good for conversation. Well, are you saying this place doesn't get rowdy sometimes?
No. No. It looks a little dead.
Gus,
It looks a little dead. I'm
If
not
it
gonna lie.
did, I wouldn't be here.
Oh.
I'll take the quiet then.
Are you both from around here?
You two from around here?
Yeah, you guys
Seems
look
like
you
you
live
go
here.
way back.
Yeah, you guys
Us
look like you're
too?
friends.
Oh, we're not together.
Oh.
I
Oh.
didn't mean that.
Oh, okay.
Don't
Damn,
worry
I
about
see
it.
you.
People always assume.
Nah, you're right, though. We're old townies.
Ah.
Let me get your regular, Pam.
Thanks.
And Miss Swan, let me know if you need anything.
Thank you, Gus.
Will do. Thanks for the drinks.
How's the night been so far, Gus?
It was good until you showed up.
I want to give you a wedgie for that.
Yo, no, they need to be together. Hold on. There's.
Joking.
Hold up. My shipping heart
Honestly, I
is
was hoping you'd be here
spiraling tonight. All right, let me take these drinks and we're going to get out of here. Pam and Gus are like everything. What? They're so funny.
Hot ice. Gotta stop hiring barbacks who call out sick right before their shift.
Yeah. I'll be a good bar back for you. Wait, what's a bar back? Ooh, window.
We should go home. I think there's something over here.
Okay. It was.
We should go
why did I
home.
play that twice? Okay, just sit down.
I think there's something over here.
What do I owe you?
Nothing. I got it.
Next one's on me then.
Oh, a cocktail. Thanks.
Ooh.
You must have read my mind. Because I don't like beer that much.
Ooh. Thought I'd surprise you with your
rum and coke.
favorite.
Thought I'd surprise you with an old favorite.
Listen,
I
I
totally
listen
forgot
to
how
my
much
women,
I used to
okay?
love those. That's sweet of you, Swan.
I listen to my women, okay?
Went for a gin and tonic. Chef's suggestion.
Okay, cool. So you drank.
So you
I wasn't sure when I texted you.
Oh, I've always liked booze.
Felt a
I'm
bit
one for
weird
the alcohols.
inviting y'all out to a bar without knowing, but not much else out here.
Well, you know me. I'll try any drink once.
So, cheers?
Cheers to whatever
Wanna
happened to the past.
Make a toast?
Yeah.
Sure.
Make a toast. To being old hags.
To finally being old hags. Middle-aged bliss.
Middle-aged
Amen.
bliss is crazy.
I hope we can close the book on our younger years tonight. I'm done with all that.
Okay, so what next?
Honestly, I wasn't sure you'd show up, Swan.
Oh.
I was nervous, if we're being real.
Well, why wouldn't I show up?
No, it's not what we agreed to back then.
Oh, but what happened?
We swore to never see each other again.
What?
I mean, that was serious. I almost turned back myself.
I don't
But
think
I
I
missed
realized
you.
how much I missed you.
Aw, I've missed you too. Anyway, thank you for being here tonight.
Oh, no, the friend.
Sorry if I'm being weird.
No, I can tell you she's afraid.
I'm feeling a little stressed out.
Yeah, no, that's valid. I'm sorry, I understand it's a lot.
Never thought I'd come back here.
Mm.
I've never been the type to get caught up in the past. I haven't even visited Velvet Cove since high school.
Wow.
I'm so sorry, Autumn.
I want to know what happened that
I
was so
understand.
bad that makes them want to forget about it.
a lot
Yeah.
to talk about.
Like, what happened?
27 years was a long time ago.
27 years?
When I try to remember what happened back then, my mind goes in circles.
Damn.
I've been trying to remember, like, really digging, but it feels like something just out of reach, you know? Like, foggy images.
Well, there's a lot I want to say, but better to talk once we're all here.
Did you invite the other girls?
I remember you moved to Canada back in the day. You still live there now?
My place is just across the
I
lake.
know catching up isn't really the point of this meetup.
No, we can
but
catch up.
I think it'd be nice.
I did end up staying in Canada. I'm just on the other side of the lake. Same view, better healthcare.
That sounds nice.
Ooh.
Please tell me it's more chill where you live than in Atlanta. I've
decent
lived in the
escape
city
from
for so
society.
long, it's pretty hard to picture moving anyplace else.
I've always enjoyed small town life. It's a decent
Small
escape.
town life is slow. It's a decent escape from society. Like when lockdowns happened, we didn't even have a movie theater or gym to close.
Oh, wow.
Oh, you're remote, huh? Yep. Thankfully, there's a small bookshop there to keep me occupied.
Ayumii, where you been?
I helped run the
I've been
place.
here in the game.
Called,
I'm trying to
Ren's
figure
Nook.
out if I'm a lesbian or not.
I can't believe it, but sometimes it is the cold up here. I found an ice rink back home, and I've been taking skating lessons. My son is really into hockey.
Your son? You have a son? That's wonderful.
My ex has tried to get him into basketball instead, but no dice.
Oh, wait, there was a divorce.
Congratulations.
There was a divorce option.
Oh, thanks.
I need to know what happened.
It has been a while.
Oh, I'm sorry. I keep moving my camera. I'm so sorry. The sensitivity
enough
is hella
about
high.
me. Let's
there
talk
you go.
about you. Seeing anyone special?
I'm seeing you right now, baby girl.
Sorry, didn't mean to put you on the spot.
Dating is a nightmare.
And if you're flying solo, more power to you.
I'm happily single. I'm trying to... What would be the answer that would give me... You know what? I date here.
I date here and there.
I got no hearts, bro.
I'm not in a rush. I like that attitude. It's the best if you can make yourself happy. Totally.
Okay, I wanted to let her know I'm open to dating, but I'm not with anybody.
Woman. I met on one of those apps for a bit last year. Didn't work out. But I was proud that I put myself out there. You know? Yeah.
Yeah.
Swan, catching up like this, it means a lot.
You should put yourself out there to me. You know what?
I know we're here
I'll take care
for
of your
a bigger
kids.
Reason, but
It's
I
definitely
agree,
good to
Autumn.
catch up.
Catching up, it's really nice.
I'll take care of her kids, okay?
You must be wondering why we're here tonight.
I should have asked her if she's divorced.
Do you remember what happened? Why we made our promise?
No, I would like you to tell me.
I just know something bad happened.
So what is going on?
Someone's got a grudge. Last week,
Did you graduate
Mom
yet?
found a package on
No, I didn't graduate. Why are you always asking me that question? Are you into the story? Like, if you asking me that question, that means you're not listening to the story. Pay attention. There is story on the line. We're trying to figure out if we're going to end up with Nora or Autumn, okay? We got a serious thing going on right now. Let's get to it.
Doorstep.
I just got here.
Hi, Death. Welcome in.
Here it is.
Oh my God, you haven't opened it?
Whoa.
Only for Bloom
and Rage. Wait. Our Bloom and Rage? I know. Like, who would remember us?
Did you graduate yet?
Now. It's been years. Oh God.
What?
Are we in trouble?
Did we kill somebody? Who did we kill?
I know it brings up a lot of old shit.
Go away unless Cat or Swan. Wait, that's so cute. Garage door. Hello? I've come because I am Swan, so I am allowed
On my
here.
mama and my set, I did
Thank you
not
for
pay
the
attention.
headbats. What do you mean you're not paying attention? Hello?
It's Swan.
We gotta be louder, Swan. Speak with your outside voice. Is that our bike? No, that's not ours.
Dude, I don't think she's gonna show.
She better. She'll be here. Swan's cool.
Bro, I'm outside. Open the blasted door. Talking about I'm not showing. Y'all can't even hear me, bro.
Hey, she actually showed.
I was outside knocking.
See? Told you.
Yeah,
Hi from VRChat. Hi,
Didn't miss
Stro.
much, Swan. We're just messing around.
Come in.
Dude, what was that band you were talking about again? I wanna write it down.
Sleater-Kinney. They're pretty new, I think. I was so nervous.
Really? Wow, so much to film. So much going on. I love pulling out my camera.
Cooler than me.
My nose is
I
stuffy.
knew she'd show.
Lame ass story and these damn nuts better.
No, I'm banning you. No, you gotta get banned. Like, you gotta get banned for that. Like, you need a timeout, brother. I just need to lock your ass up. We're gonna lock you up. Throw away the key. No food. No bitches. You just gonna have water. Just water.
Fuck I do.
What? You call my story lame? This is obviously amazing story. It's so emotional. Like, I'm so attached. It takes me a while to get attached to stories, but this one got it in a heartbeat. Lesbians? Oh man, they know how to hook me.
Emotional, then they can all die.
What? You need to go somewhere. They're not dying. I'm not letting my character die. No, bitches is insane. A knock inside the garage sounds loud as hell. Really? So then how they didn't hear me?
Nor. Dude, this place is awesome.
No, it's really cool in here.
Adam.
Are you smoking?
Didn't think you'd show. Hard.
What?
Ignore her. She just loves to stir shit up.
I heard you.
Now they can die this shit worse than your story, and that's
You're
already low.
toxic. My ass is laying in VR chat watching a movie. Wanted to come say hi before watching more yaoi. Girl got her yaoi pulled up in VR chat. Talking about, I'm watching a movie in VR chat. Oh my god. Well, I hope your movie is wonderful. I hope you're enjoying the yaoi. All right, let's go.
I'm glad you came to hang with us.
Nora
liked to amuse herself by making me squirm.
Hey, yo.
Oh yeah, there's all sorts of weird shit in here. Might look good in your movie.
Yeah. Film, whatever.
Want spoilers? I've seen Lily play this all before.
No,
Thanks.
don't give me no spoilers.
Back to it, Nora.
I'll kill you.
Fair warning?
Nora's
I used
lair.
to love filming everything around me. Nora's garage was a cinematic gold mine.
A cinematic gold mine is crazy. Why did I move that? What if I tripped over that? Did I
You know what?
Why did I miss
Okay, so here's what happened.
I'll hate you forever. I'll hate you forever.
Just glad we found them. I would have been in deep shit. Corey
sucks.
Welcome to the club. Up to now, I was the only member. My dad and Dylan, fuck him. Love him.
Fuck him. Thanks for all the help, guys.
Hold on, I'm recording. I'm recording. W Nora. Spotlight cat. Oh, let me go. Yeah, I'm just gonna... Ooh, I can finally talk to cat, bro. Shit, I'm stuck on something. What am I stuck on? Hey, yo, cat, let me move!
So, what's your band called?
The Spew! No, I never agreed to that.
Oh, the graphics on that one were top
The
of the
Spew?
line.
The Spew?
You can do better.
What? Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, Nora, that's kind of
The
gross.
Spew? Like throwing up?
I should've said it was great.
That's funny. Oh.
Ah, man, I should've said it was great.
There was this one time I got food poisoning from a dog just had lunch, and I barfed all over the tilt-a-whirl.
What? She's crazy, bro.
It's true.
Wow.
That's the Spew. I
Ew.
still hate that story.
Alrighty, that works.
Hold on. Can I talk to Cat real quick? Yo, Cat, can you move your foot for me, girl? Can I get by?
It was so hard for me to pipe up.
What? Can't you tell her you want to pass?
I brought those. They're so addicting.
Oh, really? Ooh, cool.
Cool. My mom gets these at the dollar store sometimes.
Are they telling me to film her ass? Yeah, I guess I'm gonna have to do something else. Ooh, let's look at that. Chaos Assault. Oh, that must be the game that she talked about earlier. Let's see, can film this? What is this? I cannot film it. Alright, I'm just gonna move the console.
Can I, move this out of the way?
Seriously, Swan? Don't bother asking. Just move it wherever.
Oh my god. Ooh, W. Ain't no way I moved it and then she moved. Like, there's gotta be criminal activity. Criminal activity.
Nora was obsessed with those.
Damn.
I wonder if they still make them.
Ooh, okay. Ooh, what's going on here? We got some stairs that lead to a room. Nora's lair. Nora's lair. Nora's lair. What's going on? Old junk? Crazy. Yeah, let's see. Ooh, let's go talk to Nora. That's a wrap? Oh. Nah, that's not a wrap. No. We're gonna need some more. We're gonna get this beautiful angle of them. Well, I'm gonna get like a shot of Autumn alone. Cause there's Nora's lair, and then there's a shot where I can get Autumn. You see right here, spotlight Autumn. Yeah, let me get her. Oh hell yeah. Oh no, she's not tuning nothing. Come on, tune the guitar, do something. Alright, good enough. And then I think, why are you looking at me like that? Stop looking at me with them goddamn love eyes! Holy! Holy! She needs to stop. Sounds like the Death Killers. They say watch One Piece. She needs to stop looking at me with them love eyes, okay? You know what I'm talking about? She needs to stop looking at me. Alright. Oh my god. Hi, Cat. Alright, we got Cat. Why? Cat. Cat, what's going on? I got too many things of Cat. I'm gonna have to delete one. Hold on. We got. Wait, let me see. Nora has. How many does Nora have? Oh my god! She's staring in my soul! What did I just record? What did I just record? Oh my god, I think I'm madly in love with her. It's just... She's so scary. She's so terrifying. She's so terrifying. Oh my god, she's such a reciprocator. I hate it. I hate it. Okay, Cat. I know they all look at the camera, but Nora just looks at me and like she looks at the camera in the most terrifying way possible. Oh! She just looks at me and like my soul, my asshole clenches. You know what I'm talking about? Alright, hold on. I need to figure out how many do I have of Autumn. Autumn. Okay, Nora has 5. Autumn has 4. And then Cat has 4. Okay, 4, 4, 5. Because I did an extra one because her face just now. Holy. Alright, that's a wrap. That's a wrap. That has to be a wrap. Hey, yo, wait. What's going on with the ceiling, bro? Hold on.
My bedroom was nothing like Nora's lair. I felt like a nerd in comparison.
A nerd? Wait, yours is so
you got
cute.
to know us better. Yeah. We were all a little weird. That made me happy.
Aww. Alright, that's a wrap, girls.
That's a wrap.
And we wrapped it up.
Get anything good, Swan?
Mm-hmm.
No. The good stuff is up here.
Ooh,
so humble.
Let's go.
You're flat on B, Nor. Yeah, well, maybe I'm punk and I want to be flat. Okay, enough screwing around. Let's play already.
Okay.
Shit! Where's my fucking pick?
Uh-oh.
You lost it again? You're so funny, Nor.
Could someone grab me a guitar pick?
Grab her a guitar pick?
Sure.
Hey, Cat.
Hey. So...
I know you told me to go grab a guitar pick, but
this is
I'm
cool.
currently
Yeah.
trying to flirt with
I
Cat.
can't complain. I like weirdos.
What? We are.
But you
You are a weirdo with a camera.
What?
Ever caught some freaky shit on tape?
Freaky?
Tell us.
Oh my god.
What? She's not just filming balloons all day, right? Come on, Swan.
Squirrels meeting.
Spill.
I filmed two squirrels.
I filmed some squirrels doing it. They were really
You know, you gotta be
going at
honest
it
in
too.
this situation.
Dude, what?
You gotta be honest.
I knew you were kinky.
Listen, if we get
I
okay, maybe
love
we get the
paranormal
cat
stuff,
tree
though.
going, you know?
And like monsters. You know Dog Man?
Yeah? Oh my god, that reminds me.
Do I even want to know?
So, like, there was this one thing I wish I caught on film because no one ever believes me.
What?
Swan's gonna laugh, I bet. Back when I still went hunting with my dad, we saw this massive buck.
A buck?
And it stood up on its hind legs
Oh,
and
a
looked
buck.
right at us. Seriously, like a human. I swear.
A what?
Also, it had like this massive boner.
Cool, you saw a Wendigo. You know what we're gonna just say? A boner? Gross.
How? You! It had a boner? Seriously? What? Too gross for you? I thought it was hilarious.
Wow. I love you, freaks.
When we're all calling each other freaks. This is cute. This is cute. Oh my god, like, am I living my childhood?
You're there at the mall. How'd you guess?
Am I living my
No
childhood
one's
right
banged
now?
on the ceiling
Through
telling
this?
us to keep it down.
Nora's folks
Mr. Police
were
Officer?
Never really pleasant. She kinda raised herself.
We got some stash right here, okay? I don't know who, when, what, or why, but I found it in the link.
Did you actually buy all of this yourself? Like the drum machine and all this other stuff?
Some of it.
Mister?
The rest were post-divorce guilt
It's like death
gifts from the
killers. Did
parental
people
units.
used to say freaky shit, or is that new? That's Juniper.
I actually found
Juniper?
my
Yeah, you know what?
face
That's totally
at
Juniper.
a yard sale.
Oh my god,
Love
Toasties.
those.
It's a Pop-Tart.
My son will never know the joy of all that artificial flavoring.
I'm dead.
To buy you some.
It's cool, dude. I have a job.
Oh, hold on. Let me take my camera out and look for this.
Oh my god. I'm on camera. Hi.
Nora's actually really funny, bro. She's like, oh my god, am I
Have you
on
written
camera?
any of your own songs yet?
Nah. We mostly play covers.
Oh, I write some poetry for the Seattle zine.
What?
Ooh.
That's so cool.
Really?
Yeah.
Can we read it?
Oh, I don't know. It's really not a big deal.
No. You don't bring up something casually and be like, it's not a big deal. We're gonna make it a big deal if you say it's not a big deal. That's just how big deals work, you know? It could totally not be a big deal.
In your dreams.
I'm dead. Hold on, I'm really looking for this pic, brothers. I'm really looking for this pic. Okay, if I was Nora,
The camera.
Sneaky Swan?
am I being sneaky? No, I'm not being sneaky. You guys told me I could film. Oh,
That doesn't even rhyme.
Catherine.
Doesn't rhyme.
They're actually really cute, bro.
So she moved to our shit. Autumn doesn't like the spew? What a
Ever just decide to cook something spicy when buzzed? Then find out it's way spicier than you planned when sober? Yeah, couldn't be me. Oops.
Shoot.
Never met Nora's mom.
Happy Father's Day.
But there was that one photo. You saw that. I thought she hid it. Why? From pre-divorce.
Re-divorce.
I found your pic
Interesting.
last week. What do I get?
Don't get jealous, boo.
You wish.
I'm weak. Nah, where the hell is this pic, bro? They're asking me to find a pic, and I don't even... A pic? No, they're telling me to find a pic. Bubblegum. Imagine the pick was in there. I would not be surprised. All right, these are cartridges. Let's see what else we can mess around with. Here's a toy. They're saying like there's toys, terrible toys. I wonder if all of them are gonna be in Nora's lair or something. Right? Craft supplies.
Making the taco meat for nachos. Hey, what do you call someone else's cheese? Nacho cheese.
Nacho cheese. That's cute. I can't believe they just let me snoop through their shit. Like, I literally found her weed stash in a matter of seconds. Like, I got here and I just found it. I just found the weed stash. That's unfortunate. Alright, I'm not gonna lie. I looked everywhere. That's a Pop-Tart. There does not seem to be anything over here.
This one, I'll love you forever if you find my pick. I found your pick last week. What do I get? Don't get jealous, boo. You wish.
I'm dead. No, I'm not gonna lie. I would love to love, but at the same time, girl, you got me. You got me looking for something. I don't even know what I'm looking. What does a pick look like? What do you think it is? I'm thinking it's black and a triangle. Imagine it looks like something else. What would it even? Do you think it's here? You know, the circle spot. There's a paint can. There's gotta be a pick around here somewhere. Oh my heavens. Where would the pick be? Where? Oh, where did Nora's pick go?
You.
Oh, where can it be? With its stubby legs. God, there's like a grate right here. Terrible toys? Where's the first two? Wait, hold on, what's that? Oh no, they're saying I'm filming cat. I don't want to film them too much, and then I film everything in one area. Because I would do some shit like that. Grab load, okay. Oh wait, what's that?
I'll love you forever if you find my pick. I found your pick last week. What do I get? Don't get jealous, boo. You wish.
She said, don't get jealous, boo. Where is the pick? I looked all over the floor.
Caught you again.
Nah, where is the pick? Hold on, where's the pick?
Got to simmer the meat so the sauce thickens. Is it the yellow triangle on the wall?
The yellow triangle on the wall? There was a yellow triangle where? Yellow triangle on the wall. Where'd you see that? Where'd you see a yellow triangle on the wall? Where'd you see that? Are you lying to me? Did you just lie to me? You looked above it? I did? Where? Point me in the direction. Yellow triangle on the wall. Oh, no camera. Yellow.
I'll love you forever.
Back
if you
next to the
find
white
my
cupboard.
pick. I found your pick last week. What do I get? Don't get jealous, boo. You wish.
Yellow triangle on the wall. Oh, why am I crouching? This is the white cupboard? No, this is brown. No, the white shelf. Spin to win? Okay, this is the white shelf. Is this the triangle you're talking about? This yellow triangle over there? I'm not gonna lie, I think her stuff is gone. Her stuff is gone. I've looked everywhere. Where's Nora's pick? Lord have mercy. Oh, it's not it? Yikes. Oh, that was the one you're talking about? Okay. So let me check around here. You're telling me to find the pic at the same time?
Oh, that's my secret weed stash.
Ooh.
Good hiding spot, right?
What?
Nora's an outlaw.
Ooh, Nora's an outlaw.
You know it.
She said you know it. Alright, this is her weed, or her, as Snooty like to call it, her juniper. Oh, it was this. You into love stories?
You're into love stories, Nora?
No, you've got a secret rom-com kink.
I'm dead.
It's just for when I'm like bored and you know what? Shut up.
The calling her out is
Hey,
crazy.
the due date to return.
Yeah, I haven't
was
seen
2
the pic
weeks
dazed
ago.
comments while chewing on the pic.
No
It's
days.
better than to try to charge me late fees.
Yeah, I think he's totally scared of you now.
Oh, who's Dean?
He should be.
Who's Dean?
Autumn's ex. Real SOB.
Oh,
The one who
shoot.
quotes Pulp Fiction like constantly.
Yep.
Oh, the ex.
Sucks. Thinks he's a future Tarantino because he works at the video store.
Ugh, can we please stop talking about Dean now? Thanks.
Yeah, fuck Dean.
Roger.
Alright, I'm gonna need some help because this is not getting us out the hood. We staying in this the trap with this one is crazy. Hi, Uncle Snooze. Hold on, let me clean my hands real quick. How long have I sat here trying to find this goddamn thing? At some point, they're gonna just have to get up and go look for it themselves because I must be legally blind. Hold on, I need to look up. Find Nora's pic, but where? Okay, where is Nora's pic? Alright. Where's Nora's pic? Okay. Oh, hidden inside. Okay. Alright. I got a sneak peek. It's inside of a VHS. Alright, that's... Oh, there it is. If I would have just kept looking, I would have found it. Ooh, take the sun pic, the Harpy pic, or the ghost.
Your face is
The
Nora's
ghost.
pic. Wait, wrong pic.
Found it.
I found it. It's so funny. I would have found it if I didn't look it up.
Here. How's this one?
I give her the ghost one because he's so cute.
Autumn, look! Reminds me of Halloween in Milwaukee.
I wonder where my Tharp pic went.
Oh
The
no!
story. Nora was at the mall with her dad.
Oh yeah!
She wants the Tharp pic.
He's giving me shit about my eyeliner. So I ran to the makeup counter, smeared that crap all over my face. Hell
Hey,
yeah. Next thing I
yo!
knew, he told me I could walk home. So I did. After I flipped him off. Took me
What?
a few hours. But I found some shortcut through the expressway.
Dude, he sounds like an asshole.
Yeah, no,
I
truly.
looked awesome. He was pissed.
Yeah, your makeup
I
looks
can't
cool.
believe he made you walk the whole way, though.
Your makeup looks cool. What's his problem?
Right? I love my war paint. When I got home, this pic was in a free stuff box, like right on my block. Kinda lucky, right?
Whoa,
I should have got her the Tharpy one.
Sounds like a good day to me. Minus being at the mall.
Right? The malls around here suck.
I'm dead.
Nora always hated shopping, unless it was in LA with her mom. She was bougie as hell even back then.
I'd go to the mall with you sometime. It'd be more fun than going with my mom.
Only if you promise to try on makeup samples with me. They're free, you know?
We love free things.
Take a seat wherever, Swan.
Sorry. Autumn always says I talk too much.
No. Keep talking to me, baby girl.
To have your mind blown.
Let's go.
Ears, right? Yeah, good point.
1, 2, 3. How does that for me?
In your dreams.
Yeah,
We probably want to sit here.
into place. Now.
Oops. What'd I do?
Did something break?
Hold on.
So Swan, what's your favorite band?
Favorite band?
Let me guess. The Beatles?
The Beatles is crazy.
I could see it.
Or maybe the Stones?
Girl flu.
I hated
No
being put on
boys.
the spot.
Music? Yeah, I'm just gonna be honest. I'm just into movies. I'm just into movies.
I'm not really into music.
How old is the main character? I think right now they're in high school, but we're
film
going
nerd,
back and
to
forth,
be
so
honest.
we see them when they're middle-aged ladies as well.
I've always been clueless about music.
Well, you
I
knew
did it
way more about movies than
So you can
any
comment
of
on the
us
older
each their
versions
own.
of them.
Remember sneaking from one
Hey,
movie
it's
to
Puppy
another
Dog,
in the
Puppy Dog.
multiplex? You still watch the same kind of movies? I'm still a total horror junkie to this day.
Oh my god, I'm still into horror too.
Yes, horror movies have gotten so good lately.
Right? And sometimes the black characters even survive until the end nowadays. I remember we always liked the same movies.
Oh hell yeah. Yeah, I love the
I
same
love
movies as
Interview
Autumn.
with the Vampire. Kinda weird, I know.
I've watched it. Not weird. At least 100 times.
Ayo.
What about Rocky?
Oh, I liked that too.
I gotta make sure I give everybody screen time.
We need someone on drums. Swan.
All right.
Do it. Come here. I'll show you how it works. We need some drums, Swan.
Oh, they acted me? They acted me and my dumb ass to go on drums? I ain't never hit a drum in my life. You know what? I'm going to hit it. Of course, my dumb ass knocks it over.
Oh God, that was
It's
so
okay.
awkward.
We all had our moments.
I'm so dumb as hell. Ain't no way they about to make me relive that
Whoa.
flashback.
Looks like it's still in one piece. How about you?
I'm cursed!
I'm cursed from like a previous life or something, I swear.
Scary? Skateboarder's wisdom.
I should have
Never
said,
land on
I'm
your
sorry.
Makes sense.
If I had
Don't
balance,
worry,
I'd try
Swan.
to.
I'll
But God,
catch
you
you
into
next
skaters.
time.
I want to see you skateboard,
I
Autumn.
want to see you skateboard, Autumn. I
There we
bet you
go.
look so cool.
This is what we gotta do. We
Really?
gotta aim for the hearts,
Well,
brother.
I can show you some tricks sometime.
So, are you guys gonna play or what?
All right, let's get to
Yeah.
playing.
You ready, Swan?
I got no idea what I'm
ready.
doing, but I'm ready. I'm enthusiastic.
You have to start
I
the
recognize
beat
the black
first.
actress. She
Use
looks
the
mad
switch
familiar.
on the upper right. It's easy.
Okay, so put the switch on. All right, good.
So you got your instruments in the middle.
All right,
The
your
first
girl's
is the
about to
kick,
kill
the
it.
snare is second, and the third is the toms. That last button on the right is the hi-hat.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. Try them out. You can change the sample bank too, by the way. It's that first button on the left.
The first one on the left sample bank. Hold on, which one are we thinking about? Hold on, I like number 2. Wait, no, was it number 3? Yeah, it was this one.
Oh,
Ooh.
nice.
Ooh. Ooh.
Oh, nice.
Hold on, I think we're killing it. Oh, I see. So it puts it on. Oh, I killed it! Hold on, it might actually go crazy if it does that.
Ugh, not that one.
It's
Not that
not
one?
that bad.
Hold on, no. You gotta go like 3. Oh no, it's better on 2.
That one could be fun.
Alright, this one right here is what we're killing it with. All right, I like this beat.
All set?
Yeah,
That's what.
Nice
What
beat,
the hell? What is my
Swan.
Oshi doing? I'm making a beat, bro.
Ready for your close-up?
I was born ready.
I killed it. I killed it.
Lights up on the pavement.
Ooh.
Do a trick, take a stand.
Make it stick, 'cause I can. In the park till it's dark.
Are you rolling? She is. Give me purr.
Hi, Swan.
Oh! She blowing me kisses.
Gonna do a trick, make it land. Make it stick, take a stand. Grind it out till I'm through. Ride all night and stick it to you.
I'm a W cameraman. I'm getting them full body angles. You know what I'm talking about? And then shoot. That's what I'm talking about. Memoir complete. And it's all right.
That's a wrap.
Let's go. Damn, I'm sorry I didn't get cat in there at all. I didn't get one piece of cat, man. Hey, wait, they're actually killing it. Yo. They're actually killing it.
Crushed it.
I did the drums. Ayumii was on the drums. Are you guys?
Dude, that
Like,
was
come on.
fucking epic.
That was epic.
Encore.
They're so
Thanks.
cute.
I want to write a song for you guys.
Oh!
Oh my god.
Oh my
Seriously?
god!
That'd be so cool.
What's it sound like?
She got her book out and everything. Yo, why is her sniffing?
Guys, listen. We should make a music video.
Oh!
That would be crazy. Swan, you up for that?
I'm so down.
I'm not like real.
I mean, we know that.
Says who? You are. If you say you are.
Oh, I'm a real director. I'm a real director. Does Jackass exist in this universe?
Hold
I don't
up.
know.
If this is
I hope
serious, we're gonna need a real band name.
All right.
Cat?
Hello? We already have one. You can't kill the spew.
Can and did. It's dead. And
It is
buried.
dead.
Could we shoot at the crow's nest? It's this awesome trail.
I know a few good spots where the light filters through the trees in this really cool way.
Let's scout it out.
Okay, Kat. Let's hear what you got. What's our name?
She's so tiny, but she's so tough. You can't mess with short people, okay?
Hold on,
They're rough.
I think I've got one. How about
How about what? How about what? Bloom?
and rage?
Oh! Ooh! Ooh! And that's how we started. Thank you for the follow. Hi, Misfit! I hope you're having a wonderful evening. How are you? And so that's how we got our name.
Sorry, I really gotta take this. Sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, no,
Be right
do your
back.
thing. Oh no, she's stepping away from me. No. No, Queen. Don't leave me, Queen. No. No. No, don't leave me. No. No. Oh my god, her bag. Her keys, her gum. Guys, let's examine the package.
Only for Bloom and Rage.
Remember 1995? Vandalized. Delicious pizza. Oh my goodness. Look at this. There's remember. I remember. Remember. Oh shit. Hunting season.
Who the hell sent this?
Oh shit. Oh wait, I'm zooming in. Sorry. What is that? Trail side light? Oh my goodness. All right, gamers. As much fun as I'm having right now, we're going to have to cut it off here, okay? All right. Not us short ones will throw hands. No, truly. Oh, we're getting ready to film. Ooh. Parking, main trail, Velvet Cove. Ooh, regional park. Okay, okay. Ooh. How exciting. Oi. I gotta crack my back or something. Guys, do you mind if I, like, in a few minutes, I'm gonna take, like, a stretch break. I'm gonna take, like, a little 2 to 3 minutes. I'm gonna take a stretch break, and then we're gonna come back.
Okay, guys. How many times you gonna cop a squat?
Nice technique, you guys. 10 points from the French judge.
I'm dead. Uh-oh.
It's not our fault if beer goes straight through us.
What?
Yeah, but we should hustle to get up there for golden hour.
Don't sweat it. I have a feeling that was our last stop. Probably.
Probably is crazy. They went to pee in the bushes.
Come on, let's go.
I don't know why I aggressively
music video
yelled that,
to
but
shoot.
guys, we're gonna film a music video, but I'm gonna.
Swan? Where do you want to do this?
Oh my
Just
God.
a little further.
Sick.
Does Nora want to hold my hand while we walk? You know what? We're gonna have to continue this in episode 2.
Did you see Madonna's new music video?
No, I did not.
She's like all in latex. It's kind of hot.
Just tell me you're a lesbian.
Hotter than Janet's.
Ooh, Janet Jackson. Ooh. Okay, hold on. How do I save? I don't know how to save. I do not. How do I save? Sorry, girls. I'm gonna have to cut it off here, but thank you so much. This is gonna be episode 1 of our Bloom and Gloom series. I'm so sorry to cut it off. I know we're having a lot of fun, and the story is actually really very captivating. I'm like having such a chill. Like they wrote this so well. I feel like I'm reliving my childhood through them. Like, it's so weird. This is not my childhood, but I feel like, So as much fun as I am having, this first episode is about to be a doozy. It's about to be 4 hours, okay? So we're gonna have to cut it off here. So let us, what are we gonna do? Return to main menu. Last save. Unsaved progress will be lost. How do I save? How to save? Video interface controls. How do I trigger autosave? And the last save was 2 minutes ago. Lord help me. Alright, how do I trigger autosave? Bruh, am I gonna have to continue? Let me look it up. How to save game Bloom in Lost Records. Autosave every 10 minutes or so. Have to save Lost Records. You should rely on the game's automatic system, as there's no manual save options. The game regularly creates checkpoints to save your progress, ensuring you don't lose too much of your playtime. If you're on PC, you can find your... Okay. That's so dumb. That's so stupid. I'm so upset. How do I know? When will it save again? I'm not gonna restart checkpoint 4 minutes ago. Do I have to sit here for the next like 10 minutes to get a save? You know what? I guess we're gonna have to do that. Alright, come with me. And we're gonna put on some music. What do you guys think about playing some Marvel Rivals? I'm not gonna do any comp tonight because I don't want to get angry. So I could do like some chat plays with me if you guys want to play, if you're down. Wow. Hi. I see how it is. What you upset about? Ending the moment I get here? What? I'm not ending. I'm just stopping this game. I'm just gonna... I got it. I'm actually... Yeah, no, I'm just switching games. We were playing a story game, but I'm trying to figure out how to save. I can lose. But hi, Bundy. What's next? Yeah, we're gonna play some Marvel Rivals. When does auto save occur? Bloom and Rage. Lost records. Autosave, but only every 10 minutes or so. I think it saves every scene, and once you get to a certain point, it does save. Like from the first scene, with some suggestion, the auto is around 10 minutes or longer. The game relies solely on automatic saves and checkpoints, so there's no way to save your progress manually. Okay. After you got me killed the other day, I thought you were scared of confrontation. That was all your fault, by the way. Scared of confrontation? Why would I be scared of confrontation? What the fuck? I'm weak. Alright, let us do in a snooze and miss the moment. Caught in the mind and the body like you do. Hey, let's see. Marble Bibles. We chat. I'm gonna use the bathroom though. I'm gonna use the bathroom and then hopefully while I use the bathroom and I go grab a snack, this fucking saves. So I'm sorry you're leaving. You just joined and I'm gonna be taking a quick little break, but thank you guys for watching and playing with me. Alright, restart checkpoint 7 minutes ago. I'm waiting for this thing. I'm gonna see. I'm like watching the screen hoping that it's gonna save or something. Do I have to sit here for the next 3 minutes? Restart a checkpoint. Your progress and choices will not be saved. I haven't done anything. When was the last checkpoint? To play a scene. Let me see. Lights, camera, action. Is this where we are? GarageBand. Restarting from this scene, select any progress choices and collaboration made. Hold R to play in story mode. Playing collectible mode. Ooh, I see. You can play in collectible mode. Oh my goodness. How do I know if I got all the collectibles? Collectible memoir subjects. Some checkers can be found in the scene. Oh my god, they tell me how many I got. Bros, you want to see? Yo, I'm like missing hella a lot. Hold on. So I think the first, yo, I'm missing hella a lot. This one I'm missing a lot. And this one, okay, this one I'm missing 6. This one I'm missing 2. This one I'm missing 29, 30, 31. 2. Damn, I'm missing like 6 in this one. Okay, reunion. Okay. I'm missing 3. And in this one, I'm missing a lot. Damn, tape 1 is a lot. A break would be good. Yeah, I have been sitting for quite a while. All right, I'm just gonna leave this like here. Oh, I need to stretch, like truly. Oh. Yeah, I'm gonna take a little break. I need to stretch my legs.